I still
I
remember
can't
the
believe
look on
you
my
lied
daughter's
straight
face
to
the
my
day she
face!
called me a coward.
How could you betray us
Standing
like
in the
this?
living room where she had grown up, Olivia stared at me with tears in her eyes and said I had sold our family home because money meant more to me than my late wife's memory. I let her believe it. I let her walk away hating me, because if she had known what was locked inside the old steel safe beneath that house, she would have realized every decision I made was never against her. It was to save her. If this story touches something in your heart, I'd love for you to stay with me until the end. Please like this video if you've ever been misunderstood by someone you love, and subscribe if stories about family forgiveness and second chances speak to you. I'd also love to hear from you. Where are you watching from? What time is it there right now? And have you ever judged someone before learning the whole truth? The first time I signed my name on the listing agreement, my hand did not shake. That surprised me. I had expected grief to make me weak. I had expected the pen to feel heavy, as if Eleanor herself were holding my wrist from the other side of heaven, asking me what in God's name I thought I was doing. But the pen moved cleanly across the paper. Christopher Blake. 3 words. 1 decision. 1 betrayal, at least in my daughter's eyes. Our house sat on Maple Ridge Lane in a quiet suburb outside Columbus, Ohio. It was the kind of street where people still waved from their porches, where American flags hung beside front doors, and where children's bicycles were often left carelessly on front lawns until sunset. Eleanor and I bought that house when Olivia was 7 years old. Back then, the maple tree in the front yard was thin enough for me to wrap both hands around its trunk. By the time Eleanor passed, that tree was taller than the roof and wide enough to shade half the driveway. Eleanor loved that house. She loved the yellow kitchen curtains. She loved the small garden behind the garage. She loved the way sunlight came through the dining room windows every Thanksgiving morning. She used to say the house had good bones and a loyal heart. So when Olivia found out I was selling it, she did not just think I had made a financial decision. She thought I had buried her mother twice. The afternoon she came over, I already knew what was coming. The realtor's sign had gone up that morning, white and blue, planted right in the front lawn, like a public accusation. I had stood at the window for almost 10 minutes, looking at it, listening to the grandfather clock tick behind me. At 3:17 p.m., Olivia's car pulled into the driveway too fast. Daniel was with her. That alone told me this would not be a gentle conversation. Olivia got out before the engine fully stopped. Her brown hair was pulled back, her face pale and tight. She looked so much like Eleanor when she was angry that for one foolish second, my chest softened. Then she slammed the car door. Daniel stepped out more slowly, buttoning his navy blazer, like a man arriving at a business meeting instead of a family wound. He gave me a calm nod through the window before following my daughter up the walk. I opened the door before they knocked. Olivia did not say hello. Tell me it's not true. I looked at her. Come inside. No, she said. Tell me right now. Daniel placed a hand lightly on her back. Liv, maybe we should talk inside. His voice was smooth, always smooth. That was one thing Daniel Carter had perfected better than any man I had ever known. He could make poison sound like concern. Olivia brushed past me into the foyer. How could you do this? I closed the door behind them. I knew you'd be upset. Upset! She turned around so quickly her purse slipped from her shoulder. Dad, there is a for sale sign in front of Mom's house. It was our house, I said, quietly. Her eyes flashed. Don't correct me like this is about grammar. I deserve that, or at least I knew she needed to believe I did. Daniel bent down, picked up her purse, and handed it to her. Christopher were just confused. This feels sudden. Sudden. I almost laughed. Nothing about that decision had been sudden. It had been born in hospital rooms, whispered over legal papers, hidden inside sleepless nights, and sealed with a promise to the woman I loved more than my own pride. But I said none of that. I made the decision because it was necessary, I told them. Olivia stared at me as if I had slapped her. Necessary for who? For the family. The family. Her voice cracked. You didn't ask me. You didn't ask Lily. You didn't even give us a chance to talk about keeping it. I looked toward the hallway where old family photographs still lined the wall. Olivia in her high school graduation gown. Olivia holding baby Lily in the hospital. Eleanor standing beside me at our 40th anniversary dinner, smiling like she knew something the rest of us had forgotten. I know what this house means, I said. No, you don't. Olivia stepped closer. If you did, you wouldn't be selling it like an old couch on Facebook Marketplace. Daniel sighed softly. Liv, no, Daniel, I want him to hear me. She pointed toward the living room. Mom died in that room. She spent her last Christmas in that room. She taught Lily how to bake cookies in that kitchen. And he just decides to cash out. There it was. Cash out. Those words landed harder than I expected. I am not doing this for money, I said. Then why? The question hung between us. I could have answered. I could have told her about the bank records, about the strange questions Daniel had asked me 2 weeks before Eleanor died, about the document Eleanor had hidden before her hands became too weak to hold a pen, about the old steel safe in the basement that contained more truth than my daughter was ready to survive. Instead, I walked to the small table by the stairs and picked up the basement key. Olivia noticed. Her eyes dropped to my hand. What is that A key? To what? I closed my fingers around it. Nothing you need to worry about today. That was the wrong thing to say. Pain hardened into rage on her face. You always do this, she whispered. I said nothing. You make decisions. You shut people out. You act like everyone else is too foolish to understand. Her voice rose. You did it when I wanted to open my salon. You did it when I asked for Mom's jewelry. You did it when I wanted a real memorial for her. And now this. Daniel looked down, but not before I saw the faintest movement at the corner of his mouth. Satisfaction. Small. Controlled. Almost invisible. But I saw it. Olivia, I said one day, I hope you'll understand. She let out a bitter laugh. That's not an explanation. That's what people say when they know they're wrong. Daniel stepped forward, then gentle as a pastor. Christopher, maybe if you showed us the paperwork we could help? I work with contracts all the time. Maybe there's still a way to pause the sale before emotions get worse. There it was again. Help. That was Daniel's favorite disguise. I looked at him. The paperwork is handled. His eyes held mine for half a second too long. Of course. Olivia shook her head. I don't even recognize you anymore. Those words nearly broke me because I recognized her. I recognized the little girl who used to fall asleep on my chest during Sunday football. I recognized the teenager who cried in the garage after her first heartbreak because she did not want her mother to see. I recognized the young woman who held Eleanor's hand the night before surgery and promised everything would be fine. I recognized my daughter. She just could not recognize her father through the shadow Daniel had helped place over me. I'm sorry, I said. She waited as if expecting more. There was more. There was a whole mountain of more. But every truth had a cost, and if I paid it too early, Daniel would run hide or worse, tighten his grip on her before we could protect her. So I stayed silent. Olivia picked up her purse. Her hands were trembling. Mom would be ashamed of you. For a moment, the whole house seemed to stop breathing. Even Daniel looked at her then, perhaps wondering if she had gone too far. She had, but I did not tell her that. I simply nodded once. If that's what you believe I said, then I won't argue with you. Her face changed. I think some small part of her wanted me to fight back, to defend myself, to prove I still cared enough to bleed in front of her. But I had made Eleanor a promise. And promises hid beside a deathbed do not bend just because your heart is breaking. Olivia walked to the door. Daniel followed, but before he stepped outside, he turned back to me. His voice was low enough that Olivia could not hear. You're making this harder than it needs to be. I looked at him. No, Daniel. I'm making it harder for you. For the first time that day, his smile disappeared. Then he left. I stood in the foyer long after their car backed out of the driveway. The house was silent except for the old clock and the soft hum of the refrigerator in Eleanor's kitchen. At last, I walked to the basement door. I unlocked it. The wooden stairs creaked beneath my feet as I descended into the cool dimness below. In the far corner behind shelves of Christmas ornaments and old paint cans sat the steel safe Eleanor had insisted we keep. I rested my hand on top of it. I'm trying, I whispered to my wife. Then I locked the basement door behind me again. Because my daughter was not ready for the truth, and Daniel was not ready for what I had already set in motion. For a long time, Olivia believed my worst habit was saying no. She did not understand that sometimes a father says no because yes would be easier, kinder, and far more dangerous. The first no she never forgave came 3 years before Eleanor died, when Olivia wanted to open a small beauty salon in Dublin, Ohio. It was a pretty dream. I still remember her standing in our kitchen with a folder full of printed pictures, paint colors, furniture ideas, and a business name written in looping gold letters across the front page. Olivia's Grace. She had chosen the name partly for herself, partly for her mother, because Eleanor always said grace was not just what you gave before a meal. It was what you gave people when they were still learning how to stand. I only need $60,000 to start, Olivia told me, trying to sound confident. Daniel says we can make it back within 2 years. Eleanor sat beside me at the kitchen table, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea. She smiled at Olivia, but I knew my wife. I saw the worry sitting quietly behind her eyes. Daniel was there too, of course. He stood behind Olivia's chair with one hand resting on her shoulder, as if presenting her to us. He wore a gray sweater and that polished expression he used whenever he wanted to appear humble. I've gone through the numbers, he said. It's a solid plan. Liv has talent. People love her. She just needs somebody to believe in her. The sentence was aimed at me. Olivia looked at me with such hope that for a moment I almost said yes just to keep that light in her face. But then Daniel slid the folder toward me and tapped a page. We figured the easiest way would be for you and Eleanor to take a small home equity loan. With the house nearly paid off, the interest would be low. I looked down at his finger on the paper. Not Olivia's savings. Not a business loan in Olivia's name. Not a careful plan that kept her protected. Our house. The first crack appeared that day, though Olivia did not see it. I closed the folder. No, I said. Her smile disappeared. No, I won't use the house as collateral. Daniel gave a soft laugh. Christopher, it's not unusual. Families do this all the time. Not this family. Olivia stared at me. Dad, you didn't even read the whole plan. I read enough. That was the moment I became the villain in her memory. She pushed back from the table. You always say you want me to be independent, but the second I try to build something, you shut it down. I'm not shutting you down, I told her. I'm telling you not to risk the roof over your mother's head. Daniel's hand tightened slightly on her shoulder. That seems a little dramatic. Eleanor looked at him then. Not angry. Not loud. Just steady. Eleanor could look at a person and make him feel as if she had opened a window inside his chest. "It is not dramatic to protect a home," she said. Daniel smiled at her. "Of course, Eleanor." But his eyes cooled. Olivia left that day in tears. For months afterward, she told people I did not believe in her. I never corrected her. I let her think I had crushed her dream because the truth was uglier. Daniel had tried to place our home within reach of his ambition, and he had used Olivia's hope as the rope. The second no came after Eleanor's diagnosis. Cancer changes the sound of a house. People talk softer. Doors close slower. Even the refrigerator seems too loud at night. Olivia wanted to help, and I will never take that away from her. She drove Eleanor to appointments when she could. She brought soup. She sat on the edge of the bed and painted her mother's nails pale pink, even when Eleanor's hands trembled. But Daniel changed too. He became attentive in a way that made my skin tighten. He offered to organize paperwork. He asked where we kept insurance documents. He volunteered to review medical bills. He said he wanted to reduce stress for everyone. One afternoon, I came downstairs and found him alone in my study. The desk drawer was open. He turned quickly, holding a stack of old property tax statements. "Sorry," he said. "Olivia asked me to look for Eleanor's Medicare supplement papers." I looked at the drawer. "Those are not in there." He smiled. I realized that. After he left, I checked every folder in that drawer. Nothing was missing. At least nothing I could prove. That evening, Eleanor asked me to bring her a blanket from the hall closet. When I returned, she was staring toward the doorway. "He was in your study again," she whispered. I sat beside her. "I know. He watches things, Chris." That was what she called me. Chris. Nobody else did not anymore. "What things? Where you put keys? Which drawer you lock? When you go downstairs?" I tried to keep my voice calm. "You noticed too?" Her eyes filled with tears, but not from fear. From frustration. Eleanor hated being weak. She hated knowing danger was near, and her body would not let her stand in front of it. "Olivia won't believe us," she said. "No," I admitted. "Not yet." The third no came when Olivia asked for her mother's jewelry. Eleanor was still alive then, but barely. She had days when she drifted in and out, her voice thin as thread. Olivia came over one Sunday afternoon crying before she even sat down. "Mom told me once I could have her pearl necklace," she said. "I want to keep it safe." I knew that necklace. Eleanor had worn it on our wedding day, at Olivia's baptism, at Lily's first birthday. It was not the most expensive piece of jewelry she owned, but it carried the most memory. I also knew Daniel had recently mentioned selling unused valuables to help with medical expenses. So I told Olivia no. She looked at me as if she did not understand the word. "Dad, she's my mother." "I know." "Then why are you acting like I'm stealing from her?" "I didn't say that. You didn't have to." Daniel was waiting in the driveway that day. I saw his car through the window. Engine running, face turned toward the house. I went upstairs after Olivia left and sat beside Eleanor. "She was awake. She asked for the pearls," I said. Eleanor closed her eyes. "You were right to say no. She hates me for it. She'll hate you more before this is over." I looked at my wife then, and something in me cracked. "Don't say that." But she opened her eyes and whispered, "Promise me you can survive it." I did not answer right away. Because no father wants to survive being hated by his child. He wants to explain. He wants to hold up proof. He wants to say, "Look closer. I am not the enemy." But Eleanor was asking me for something harder than defense. She was asking me for patience. The fourth decision Olivia never forgave was the memorial. After Eleanor died, Olivia wanted a large service at the country club where Daniel's firm held holiday dinners. She wanted flowers everywhere, a catered lunch, printed programs, a slideshow, speeches, music, the works. "She deserves something beautiful," Olivia said. "She deserves something honest," I replied. That wounded her. She thought I was being cheap, cold, practical in the face of sacred grief. But I had seen the estimate Daniel handed her. I had seen the vendor names. I had seen one company connected to a client of his. I had also seen Daniel push Olivia toward paying deposits from the joint account she still barely understood. So I chose a smaller service at our church. Eleanor's friends came, her choir sang. Lily read a poem with shaking hands. I stood at the front and spoke about the woman who taught me that love was not loud but loyal. It was beautiful, but Olivia cried in the parking lot afterward. "You controlled even this," she said. Even her goodbye. That sentence followed me home. For weeks after the funeral, every room seemed to hold a different version of Eleanor. Her robe over the bedroom chair, her handwriting on a grocery list, her reading glasses beside the lamp. The house had become a museum of my loss, and still I guarded the basement door like a soldier. Because Daniel kept asking questions. He asked if Olivia's name was on any deeds. He asked whether Eleanor had left a separate will. He asked whether old medical debts could affect inheritance. He asked in casual ways in passing, usually while helping carry boxes or washing dishes after dinner. But I heard the pattern. Olivia heard only concern. That was Daniel's greatest skill. He could stand beside a locked door and convince everyone he was only admiring the wood. Over time, Olivia stopped calling as often. When she did, her voice had changed. She sounded careful around me, as if every sentence had to pass through Daniel before reaching her own mouth. Once I called to ask if Lily wanted to come over and bake Eleanor's cinnamon rolls. Olivia hesitated. "Daniel thinks it might be too soon for cinnamon rolls for Lily to be around so much sadness." I looked around the kitchen Eleanor had filled with laughter for 30 years. "Sadness is not the only thing in this house," I said. "I know, Dad, but you make everything feel heavy now." After she hung up, I sat at the table and stared at the empty chair across from me. Maybe she was right. Maybe grief had made me heavy. Maybe secrets had sharpened my edges. Maybe every no I had spoken had built a wall so high my daughter could no longer see the love behind it. But then I would remember Eleanor's hand gripping mine in the hospital. Her voice low, but fierce. Protect her from what she refuses to see. So I kept saying no. No to the loan. No to the jewelry. No to the big memorial. No to Daniel's offers to help. And eventually, no to keeping the house in a form he could reach. Each no cost me a piece of my daughter, but each no kept her one step farther from the trap he had been building around her. The tragedy was that Olivia did not know she was standing in danger. She only knew her father kept closing doors, and the most important door of all was locked beneath our feet. Daniel Carter was the kind of man people defended before they ever truly knew him. That was his gift. He remembered birthdays. He opened doors for elderly women at church. He shook hands with both warmth and confidence, always using a person's name twice in a conversation, so they felt important. At family gatherings, he helped carry folding chairs, poured coffee for the older aunts, laughed at the uncles' bad jokes, and somehow made it all look natural. If you asked my relatives what kind of husband Olivia had married, most of them would have said, a good one. Some would have gone further. A blessing. Steady. Successful. The kind of man every father hopes his daughter finds. Every father maybe. But not this one. I did not dislike Daniel at first. I want that understood. It would be too easy to paint myself as wise from the beginning. and him as obvious from the start, but life rarely gives us villains with warning labels. When Olivia first brought him home, Daniel was polite, clean-cut, and respectful. He worked in commercial real estate contracts, wore nice watches without mentioning their price, and spoke to Eleanor as if her opinions mattered. Eleanor liked that, at first. "He listens," she told me after their second dinner at our house. "Most men listen when they're trying to impress a woman's parents," I said. She smiled. "You didn't. I was terrified of your father." I nodded a lot. She laughed, and for a while, Daniel was simply the man who made our daughter happy. At their wedding, he cried when Olivia walked down the aisle. Not loudly, not theatrically, just enough to make half the women in the church dab their eyes. He held Lily when she was a baby, with a gentleness that made Olivia glow. He called me sir until I finally told him to stop, and even then, he switched to Christopher with perfect timing, as if he had been waiting for permission to become closer. For years, I wanted to trust him. That is the part Olivia never understood. I did not wake up one morning determined to hate her husband. I looked for reasons not to, but small things began to collect. The first was a question at Thanksgiving. Eleanor had made turkey sweet potato casserole, green beans with almonds, and the pumpkin pie Olivia loved. The house was warm, crowded, and loud. Lily was only 6, then running around the dining room with a paper pilgrim hat she had made at school. After dinner, Daniel followed me into the kitchen with a stack of plates. "This house must be worth quite a bit now," he said. I rinsed a serving spoon. "More than when we bought it." "Columbus suburbs have been strong," he said, "especially neighborhoods like this. Good schools, mature trees, low turnover." I glanced at him. "You sound like you're preparing a listing." He laughed. "Occupational hazard." Then he asked casually, "Is Olivia on the deed?" The spoon slipped slightly in my hand. "No." He nodded as if it meant nothing. "Makes sense. Estate planning can get complicated." I turned off the faucet. "Why do you ask?" "No reason. Just thinking ahead. With Eleanor's health history, it's never too early to make things easier for family. Eleanor did not have cancer then. She had no diagnosis, only a history of mild heart issues and arthritis in her hands. I remember looking past him into the dining room, where Olivia was helping Lily put whipped cream on her pie. "Eleanor is fine," I said. "Of course," Daniel replied. "I didn't mean anything by it. People like Daniel rarely mean anything by the things they mean most." After that, I paid closer attention. He asked about our mortgage balance while helping me carry firewood. He asked whether Eleanor and I had long-term care insurance while watching a football game. He asked if I kept important documents at home or in a safe deposit box while standing beside the coffee maker on Christmas morning. Each question arrived wrapped in ordinary concern. Each one left a mark. I told Eleanor about them one night while she folded laundry at the foot of our bed. She listened quietly, matching socks with the seriousness of a judge reviewing evidence. "Maybe he's just practical," she said. "Maybe, but you don't think so." I sat on the edge of the bed. "I think he asks questions like a man mapping a house in the dark." She stopped folding. That was the first time I saw real concern settle on her face. Eleanor began watching him too. My wife had a way of observing without seeming to observe. She could sit with a cup of tea and a magazine while noticing every glance, every pause, every word a person chose not to say. A month later, after Sunday dinner, she found Daniel in the hallway near our bedroom. He had a framed picture in his hand. It was from our 25th anniversary trip to Maine. Behind that frame, tucked between the cardboard backing and the photo, Eleanor kept a duplicate key to my study cabinet. It was not valuable, not important to anyone who did not know what it opened, but Daniel was holding the frame. Eleanor stood at the end of the hall and asked, "Looking for something?" He turned with that easy smile. "Just admiring the photos." You two have had quite a life. She took the frame from him gently. Yes, we have. Later that evening, she moved the key. She did not tell Olivia. Neither did I. What could we have said? Your husband was looking too closely at our picture frames. Your husband asks too many questions about money. Your husband smiles at you with love, but looks at your inheritance with hunger. Olivia would have called it paranoia. And Daniel would have called it grief before grief even arrived. The strangest thing was how loved he made everyone feel. At church, he volunteered for the annual charity auction. At Lily's school, he helped organize a fundraiser. When my sister Carol's husband had knee surgery, Daniel sent meals from a local restaurant for 3 nights. Carol talked about that for months. Such a thoughtful man, she told me. I said nothing, because Daniel was thoughtful. That was the problem. He thought of everything. When Eleanor became sick, his performance became nearly flawless. He drove Olivia to the hospital when she was too upset to drive herself. He brought Eleanor flowers that matched the color of the scarf she wore. He asked doctors careful questions and wrote down answers in a small leather notebook. Nurses loved him because he was polite and never raised his voice. But I saw what happened when no one else was looking. I saw him check Olivia's phone while she slept in a hospital chair. I saw him correct her gently when she answered questions about bills. I saw him say, "Let me handle that, sweetheart," until she slowly stopped handling things herself. One afternoon, Eleanor was asleep after a treatment, and Olivia had gone downstairs to get coffee. Daniel and I stood outside the room. He looked through the small glass panel at my wife. "Hard to watch a strong woman fade," he said. I did not answer. He turned to me. "Olivia's going to need stability when this is over. She has family. She has me." "Yes," I said. "She does." His eyes remained on Eleanor. "You should think about simplifying things. Assets, paperwork, ownership. Stress makes people vulnerable." I looked at him then. "Which people?" He smiled faintly. "All of us." That night, I told Eleanor. She was weaker by then, her hair mostly gone beneath a soft blue cap Lily had chosen. But her mind was sharp. "He said vulnerable," she asked. "Yes." She closed her eyes for a long time. Then she whispered, "He is waiting." "For what?" "For me to die." The words struck me so hard I stood up. "Eleanor." "No, listen to me." Her voice trembled, but her gaze did not. "He won't move while I'm alive. He knows I see him. I wanted to deny it. I wanted to tell her illness had made her fearful. I wanted to be the kind of husband who could protect her from such thoughts. But I had seen too much. So I sat back down and took her hand. "What do you want me to do?" She looked toward the window. Outside, late afternoon light lay across the hospital wall, like a thin gold blanket. "Start gathering everything she said. Every document, every note, every strange thing he has asked. And don't keep it where he can find it." That was when the steel safe became more than a box in the basement. It became Eleanor's last defense. Over the next few weeks, I began writing things down. Dates, questions, incidents, the study drawer, the picture frame, the home equity loan idea, Daniel's comments about ownership. Eleanor added her own notes when she had strength, sometimes only a sentence, sometimes just a name or a date. One night, she asked me to bring her a yellow legal pad. Her handwriting had become shaky, but she wrote for nearly 20 minutes. When she finished, she folded the pages and asked me for an envelope. "What is it?" I asked. "For Olivia." I reached for it, but Eleanor held it against her chest. "Not yet. When she is ready to know that love is not always the person who comforts you. Sometimes it is the person willing to be hated while standing between you and ruin. I could not speak. She sealed the envelope herself. Then she wrote Olivia's name across the front. That envelope went into the safe 2 days later. So did copies of bank records, old deeds, insurance papers, notes, and a list of every question Daniel had ever asked that felt like a hand testing a lock. And still outside our private fear, Daniel remained perfect. At Eleanor's bedside, he kissed Olivia's forehead. At church, he accepted hugs. At family dinners, he called me Christopher, with just enough warmth to fool the room. But once, only once, he forgot himself. It happened in my kitchen 3 weeks before Eleanor died. Olivia had gone upstairs to help her mother. Daniel stood near the back door looking toward the garden Eleanor loved. "She won't be able to maintain all this," he said. "Who?" "Olivia. Afterward." He turned to me. "Big house, medical bills, memories everywhere. It could swallow her." I studied him. "And what would you suggest? Liquidation, maybe. A clean break? Put the money somewhere useful." "Useful to whom?" His smile came back too late. "To Olivia, of course." That was the day I knew. Not suspected, knew. Daniel did not want to join our family. He wanted to inherit its shelter, its savings, its history, and finally, its silence. And the cruelest part was that the person standing closest to the danger was the only one who still called it love. The last promise I made to Eleanor was not a romantic one. It was not about meeting again in heaven, though I believed we would. It was not about keeping flowers on her grave, though I still do. It was not about remembering anniversaries or wearing my wedding ring or sleeping on my side of the bed, as if she might come back and need hers. The last promise I made to my wife was this: I would let our daughter hate me if hatred was the price of keeping her safe. Eleanor asked it of me 3 nights before she died. The hospital room was quiet, except for the soft beeping of machines and the faint sound of nurses' shoes passing in the hallway. It was late October, and outside the window, Columbus was turning cold. The trees beyond the parking lot had gone gold and brown, their leaves falling one by one beneath the streetlights. Eleanor had always loved autumn. She used to say fall made everything honest. Trees stopped pretending they could hold on forever. That night, she looked smaller than I had ever seen her. The blue cap Lily had given her sat loosely on her head. Her wedding ring had been moved to a chain around her neck because her fingers had grown too thin to hold it. But her eyes, those eyes were still Eleanor's. Clear, watchful, brave in a way that made my own courage feel borrowed. I was sitting beside her bed, holding one of her hands between both of mine. "You should sleep," she whispered. "So should you. I've been sleeping all day." That wasn't sleep. That was medicine. The corner of her mouth lifted. "Still arguing with me after 44 years? Only when you're wrong." She gave a breath that almost became a laugh, then winced. I leaned forward, but she shook her head. "Don't fuss, Chris." There it was again. Chris. Her name for me. When Olivia was little, she used to tease us about it. She said Christopher sounded serious, and Chris sounded like a man who forgot where he put his reading glasses. I would have given anything that night to hear Olivia tease us again. But Olivia had gone home an hour earlier. Daniel had insisted she needed rest. He had stood by the door in his dark coat, one hand on her shoulder, saying, "Your mother wouldn't want you wearing yourself down." Eleanor had watched him as he spoke. She did not blink. After they left, she lay quiet for a long time. I thought she had drifted off. Then she opened her eyes and said, "Lock the study cabinet when you get home." My chest tightened. Why? Daniel knows there's something in there. I tried to keep my face calm. He doesn't know anything. He knows enough to keep looking. I looked toward the closed hospital door. "Eleanor, you need to save your strength." "No!" Her voice was weak, but the word was firm. "I need to use what I have left." I swallowed hard. No husband wants to hear his wife measure her remaining strength like spare change in a purse. She turned her head slightly toward me. "Bring the folder tomorrow." "Which folder?" "The red one. Bottom drawer. Behind the tax records." I knew it. The folder where she had begun keeping her own notes. Dates, questions, incidents. Things Daniel had said that sounded harmless until you placed them beside one another. I nodded. All right. And the envelope. I did not pretend not to know. "The envelope with Olivia's name, you still don't want me to give it to her?" I asked. "Not yet. She's your daughter. She deserves to know what you're afraid of. She deserves to survive knowing it." That silenced me. Eleanor closed her eyes, gathering breath. When she opened them again, tears had collected along her lashes. "Olivia loves him," she whispered. "And love can make a woman defend the very hand tightening around her throat." I felt something cold move through me. "Has he hurt her?" "Not the way you mean." "Then what way?" She stared at the ceiling. "He has made her smaller." I knew exactly what she meant. I had watched it happen. Olivia, who used to argue with teachers, laugh too loudly in restaurants and drive across town in a snowstorm because a friend needed her now, asked Daniel before making simple decisions. She apologized before disagreeing. She explained herself as if she were always on trial. "I should have said something sooner," I said. Eleanor turned her head back to me, and she would have believed him. I hated that she was right. Daniel had never needed to shout. He never needed to break things. He used patience like a weapon. A soft correction here, a disappointed look there, a careful sentence spoken in front of others. Olivia gets emotional about money. Or Liv doesn't always understand paperwork. Or I try to keep stress away from her. Little by little, he had taught her to doubt herself. And little by little, he had taught her to doubt me. Eleanor's fingers moved weakly against mine. "Chris, listen to me carefully." "I'm listening." "When I'm gone, he will move faster." I looked down. "He will push for control. The house, the accounts, the jewelry, anything tied to Olivia. He'll make it sound practical. He'll make you sound cruel if you resist." "He already has." "I know." Her eyes softened. "And you must let him." I stared at her. Let him. Let him reveal himself." "I'm not going to sit back while he destroys our daughter." "No," she said. "You're going to stop him, but not by warning her before she's ready. If you accuse him now, he'll turn her against you completely. He'll tell her grief has made you bitter. He'll say you never liked him. He'll make her choose. And she'll choose him," I said quietly. Eleanor's tears slipped down her temples. For now. Those two words hurt more than any scream. For now. My daughter would choose Daniel over me. Not because she was foolish. Not because she did not love me. But because manipulation does not look like a trap from the inside. It looks like loyalty. It looks like marriage. It looks like standing by the person everyone else misunderstands. Eleanor took a shallow breath. "That is why you have to become the wall between him And what he wants? I shook my head. Olivia will hate me. Yes, the honesty of it nearly broke me. She'll think I'm controlling her. Yes, she'll think I care more about money than her happiness. Yes. My voice cracked. And you're asking me to live with that? Eleanor looked at me with all the love and sorrow 44 years could hold. I am asking you to love her more than you need her approval. I turned away because I did not want her to see my face collapse. Outside the window, a leaf struck the glass and slid downward like a small brown hand letting go. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then, Eleanor whispered, "The safe." I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand. What about it? Move everything there. The red folder, the envelope, copies of the deed, bank statements, my notes, the list from Susan. Susan Reynolds worked at our bank. She and Eleanor had known each other from a women's volunteer group years earlier. A month before Eleanor entered the hospital for the last time, Susan had quietly warned us that Daniel had asked general questions about family asset transfers during a community finance event. Nothing illegal, nothing official, but enough to confirm the pattern. "I'll move it," I said, "and change the combination." "I will. Don't tell Olivia." The words came sharper than I expected. I looked at her. "Eleanor, promise me. She'll think I'm hiding her mother from her. Promise me. She'll think I stole your memory. Promise me, Chris." The machines kept beeping. The hallway remained quiet. And my wife, the woman who had spent her life making our home warm and open, was asking me to become secretive, stubborn, and hated. I bowed my head over her hand. "I promise." Her whole body seemed to soften with relief. "There's one more thing," she whispered. I leaned closer. "If the house becomes bait, remove it from the hook." I did not understand then, not fully. She saw my confusion and forced the words out slowly. "If he believes he can reach it through Olivia, he will never stop. Sell it. Transfer it. Lock it away. Do whatever Michael says is safest." Michael Turner was our longtime attorney. He had helped us with wills, medical directives, and small business paperwork when I retired from my insurance agency. "You want me to sell the house?" I asked. Her eyes moved around the room as if she could see past the hospital walls and back into our yellow kitchen, our garden, our Christmas mornings, our entire life. "I want you to save what the house means," she said, "not just the walls." That was Eleanor. Even dying, she understood the difference between a thing and its purpose. I pressed her hand to my forehead. "I don't know if I can do this without you." "You can? I'm not as strong as you." "No," she whispered. "You're more stubborn." A broken laugh escaped me, and she smiled. For a moment, we were young again. We were standing in a half-painted kitchen with a 7-year-old Olivia running through empty rooms. We were planting roses. We were arguing about wallpaper. We were ordinary people who thought time was generous. Then the moment passed. Eleanor's breathing grew thin. Before dawn, she slept. The next day, I brought the red folder and the envelope. She touched both, nodded once, and told me where to place them in the safe. 3 nights later, she was gone. After the funeral, after the casseroles stopped arriving, after Olivia's calls became shorter and Daniel's questions became sharper, I went down to the basement alone. I opened the steel safe. Inside, I placed the red folder, the envelope, the copies, the notes, the evidence, the last pieces of my wife's fear and wisdom. Then I changed the combination. As the lock clicked shut, I understood something terrible. Eleanor had not left me a secret. She had left me a burden, and I would carry it even if my daughter mistook its weight for cruelty. The day Olivia cut me out of her life, she did it with a calm voice. That hurt more than anger. Anger still has heat in it. Anger still means the person is close enough to burn. But calmness, cold, careful calmness, means something inside them has already stepped away. She called me on a Tuesday morning. I was standing in Eleanor's kitchen, looking at a cardboard box filled with her cookbooks. I had been trying to pack them for nearly an hour, but every time I picked one up, I found something tucked inside a grocery list. A pressed leaf, a church bulletin, a recipe card with her handwriting across it. When the phone rang, Olivia's name lit up the screen. For one foolish second, I thought maybe she was calling to apologize. "Hi, sweetheart," I said. There was a pause. "Dad, we need boundaries." Just like that. Not "I miss you." Not "Can we talk?" Not even "I'm still angry." Boundaries. A word that can be healthy in the right mouth and cruel in the wrong moment. I sat down slowly at the kitchen table. "All right. I've been thinking a lot," she said. "Daniel and I both have." Of course, Daniel had. I looked toward the hallway where the basement door stood closed. "What have you decided?" "I don't think it's good for Lily to be around all this tension." My fingers tightened around the phone. "Lily isn't part of this. She feels things Dad. She's 12, not 5. I know how old my granddaughter is. That's not what I meant." I closed my eyes. I could see Lily so clearly. Her freckles, her crooked ponytail, the way she always asked for extra cinnamon when we baked, the way she still called me Grandpa Chris because Eleanor had taught her to. "Does Lily want this?" I asked. Another pause. "This isn't about what a child wants." "No," I said quietly. "I suppose it isn't." Olivia's voice trembled then just slightly. "You sold Mom's house. You made decisions that affected all of us. You refused to explain anything. And now you want to act like everyone else is being unreasonable." "I have never said you were unreasonable. You don't have to say it. You make me feel it." That landed deep, because I knew Daniel had given her that sentence. Maybe not word for word, but he had placed the idea carefully in her heart until she believed it grew there on its own. "I don't want to make you feel small," I said, "but you do." The kitchen was silent. Outside, the maple tree Eleanor loved moved in a light wind. Olivia drew a breath. "Until the sale is final, and until I can process everything, I think it's best if we take space. How much space, I don't know. Does that mean I can't see Lily? Not right now." I stared at the box of cookbooks. There are moments in life when pain arrives so cleanly you cannot even react. It does not knock you down at first. It simply walks into the room, sits beside you, and waits for you to understand what has happened. I had lost my wife. Now I was being asked to lose my granddaughter too. "Olivia," I said, and my voice came out rougher than I wanted. "Don't use Lily to punish me." She inhaled sharply. "I'm protecting my daughter." "So am I." The words slipped out before I could stop them. Silence. "What does that mean?" she asked. I looked toward the basement door again. Everything in me wanted to tell her. Everything. I wanted to say Daniel is not who you think he is. I wanted to say your mother saw it. I wanted to say the house is not gone, the money is not greed, and every cruel-looking choice I have made has your name hidden beneath it, like a prayer. But promises do not care how badly you want relief. So I said, "It means I know what it is to make hard decisions for a child." Her voice hardened. "Don't compare yourself to me. I'm not." "Yes, you are. You always do that. You hide behind being my father, like it gives you the right to control everything. I rubbed my forehead. Olivia, I love you. That's not enough anymore. The line went quiet. Then she said softer, "Goodbye, Dad." She hung up before I could answer. I sat there for a long time with the phone still pressed against my ear. Afterward, I did something I had not done since Eleanor's funeral. I cried out loud. Not dignified tears, not quiet grief. I bent forward at the kitchen table and sobbed like a man who had been holding up a roof with his bare hands and had finally felt it crushing his spine. When the tears passed, I washed my face, changed my shirt, and drove to Michael Turner's office. Michael's office was on the second floor of a brick building downtown above a bakery that always smelled like butter and coffee. He had been our lawyer for almost 25 years. He was in his 70s, with silver hair, sharp eyes, and the kind of patience that made nervous people talk too much. When I walked in, he looked up from his desk. "You look terrible, Chris. Good to see you too." He stood and closed the door behind me. "Olivia." I nodded. "She cut contact, for now." Michael sighed. "I'm sorry. She won't let me see Lily." That changed his face. He removed his glasses and set them on the desk. "Sit down." I sat. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he opened a file drawer and pulled out the thick folder we had built together over the past year. Eleanor's notes, copies of property records, draft trust documents, bank communications, my written timeline of Daniel's questions. The folder looked heavier every time I saw it. "Are you still certain?" Michael asked. "No." He looked at me carefully. I swallowed. "I'm certain about Daniel. I'm not certain I can survive what this is doing to my daughter." Michael leaned back. "Those are two different things. They don't feel different. They rarely do." I looked at the framed law degree on his wall. "Tell me there's another way." He did not answer quickly. That was what I respected about Michael. He never comforted a person with lies just because truth was inconvenient. Finally, truth was inconvenient. Finally, he said, "If you confront Daniel publicly without Olivia ready to hear it, hell twist it." I know. "If you accuse him without a clean paper trail, hell si calais, you're unstable from grief." I know. Said, "If you confront Daniel publicly without Olivia ready to hear it, he'll twist it." I know. "If you accuse him without a clean paper trail, he'll claim you're unstable from grief." I know. "If you keep the house titled in a way that allows Olivia to be pressured, borrowed against, or manipulated, he may find a way to use her." My jaw tightened. I know. Michael opened the folder and pulled out a set of documents. "The trust is ready." Even though I had expected those words, they still made the room feel colder. He slid the papers across the desk. "The sales structure we discussed can proceed. The public record will show a transfer that looks simple enough not to attract emotional negotiation from the family. The proceeds and property control will move into the Blake Family Protective Trust. Olivia and Lily are beneficiaries. Daniel has no direct access." I looked down at the pages. Black ink, clean margins, legal language that made heartbreak look organized. "And Olivia won't know." "Not yet," Michael said. "Not unless you choose to disclose it or conditions are triggered." "What conditions?" "If Daniel attempts..." "What conditions?" "If Daniel attempts to use forged authorization pressure, Olivia into asset transfer or create debt tied to expected inheritance, we document and move." I laughed once without humor. "You make it sound like chess." "It is chess. It's my daughter's life. To use forged authorization pressure, Olivia into asset transfer or create debt tied to expected inheritance, we document and move." I laughed once without humor. "You make it sound like chess?" "It is chess. It's my daughter's life. That's why you can't play it like checkers." I looked away. Michael softened his voice. Eleanor understood this. At the sound of her name, I felt the familiar ache rise again. "She asked too much of me," I said. "No," Michael replied. "She trusted you with what only you could do." I signed the first page. This time, my hand did shake. Not because I doubted the plan, but because I knew what Olivia would see if she ever found out before the truth was ready. She would see a father selling the last place her mother had been alive. She would see a widower turning memory into money. She would see betrayal. She would not see protection. I signed again and again. By the end, my signature looked less like my name and more like a wound repeated across paper. Michael gathered the documents. "I'll file these carefully," he said. I nodded. Before I left, he asked, "Are you safe at the house?" The question surprised me. From Daniel. From grief. I looked down at my hands. "No," I said honestly, "but I'm still standing." That evening, I returned to Maple Ridge Lane just before sunset. The realtor's sign was still in the yard. Across the street, Mrs. Holloway was watering her mums and pretending not to watch me. News travels fast in neighborhoods like ours. By then, I was sure people had opinions. Poor Christopher. Cold Christopher. Lost Christopher. Maybe even selfish Christopher. Let them. Inside, the house smelled faintly of cardboard lemon oil and dust. I walked room to room, touching door frames, tabletops, the back of Eleanor's favorite chair. In Lily's corner of the living room, I found a purple hair tie beneath the couch cushion. I held it in my palm. That small thing nearly undid me more than the legal papers had. I sat down and imagined Lily asking why Grandpa Chris did not come around anymore. I imagined Olivia hesitating. I imagined Daniel answering first. "Your grandfather needs time, sweetheart." Or worse, "Your grandfather is angry." I closed my hand around the hair tie. "No," I whispered to the empty room. "I am not angry." I was terrified. Terrified that Daniel would move faster than we could prove. Terrified that Olivia would mistake control for care until there was nothing left of her confidence. Terrified that Lily would grow up thinking I had abandoned her when every lonely choice I made had been for her future too. Later that night, I went to the basement. The safe sat in the corner, patient and silent. I entered the combination and opened it. Inside were Eleanor's notes, her envelope to Olivia, the red folder, the property copies, and now a new set of trust documents. I placed them inside carefully. Then I took out Eleanor's envelope and held it under the bare bulb. Olivia's name stared back at me in her mother's fading handwriting. For one moment, I almost opened it. Not to read it. I knew enough of what was inside. I almost opened it because I wanted permission. I wanted Eleanor's voice to rise from those pages and tell me I was not losing our daughter forever. But I did not open it. I put it back. Then I closed the safe. Upstairs, my phone buzzed. A message from Olivia. "Please don't come by the house or Lily's school. I need you to respect this. No love you. No dad. Just a wall." I read it twice. Then I typed back, "I will respect your space. I love you. I love Lily. Always." She did not respond. That night, I slept in Eleanor's chair because our bed felt too wide. Around 2 a.m., I woke to the sound of wind pressing against the windows. For a second, half asleep, I thought I heard Eleanor in the kitchen. Then I remembered. The house was empty. My daughter was gone. My granddaughter was out of reach. And somewhere across town, Daniel Carter probably believed he had finally pushed me into a corner. He did not know I had already moved the walls. The call from the bank came on a Thursday morning, just after I had finished sweeping leaves from the front porch. I remember the air smelled like rain. The maple tree had scattered red and gold leaves across the walkway, and for a moment, I stood there with the broom in my hand, thinking about how Eleanor used to complain that I swept too early. "Wait until the tree is finished shedding," she would say. And I would answer, if I waited for everything to be finished, nothing would ever get done. That morning, the house phone rang. Almost nobody called the house phone anymore. Olivia used my cell. Michael used my cell. Daniel never called unless he wanted something documented in the gentlest possible tone. The old landline mostly rang with appointment reminders or people trying to sell me Medicare plans I did not need. But when I picked up, I heard Susan Reynolds' voice. "Christopher." "Susan." She did not return my small surprise with warmth. Her voice was low-controlled and too careful. "Are you alone?" The broom slipped from my hand and knocked against the porch rail. "Yes, I need you to listen calmly. That is never something people say before good news." I stepped inside and closed the door. "What happened?" "I received an internal review alert this morning," she said. "It involved a loan inquiry. Not approved, not finalized, but flagged." My heart began beating harder. "What kind of loan?" "A secured personal line of credit." I walked slowly to the kitchen table and sat down. "Whose name?" She hesitated. That hesitation told me before she did. "Olivia's." The room seemed to tilt slightly. I pressed one hand flat on the table Eleanor had polished every Saturday morning. "Say that again." "Someone attempted to begin paperwork for a secured line of credit using Olivia's financial profile." "Daniel, I can't legally state intent over the phone," Susan said, "but his name appears as the secondary contact on the preliminary inquiry." "Of course it did. Always close enough to steer. Never close enough to be blamed first." "What was used as security?" "That's why I called." Her voice dropped further. "The application referenced expected family assets." I closed my eyes. Expected family assets. Not money in hand, not property already transferred. Expected. Daniel was trying to borrow against what he believed Olivia would receive from me. "Was the house listed?" I asked. "Not directly, but there was language suggesting future inheritance potential proceeds from property sale and access through spousal financial planning." My mouth went dry. "He thinks the sale money is coming to Olivia." "That appears to be the assumption." I almost laughed, not because anything was funny, but because the trap had finally shown its shape. Daniel believed he had pushed me into selling the house. He believed the grief, the pressure, the public conflict, and Olivia's anger would eventually force me to hand over the proceeds just to repair the relationship. He did not know Eleanor, and I had already moved the bait. "Was Olivia present?" I asked. "I don't know." "Susan, I truly don't know." The documents were submitted digitally through a partner portal. There was an electronic authorization attached. My fingers curled. Attached by whom? "The system shows Olivia's name." I stood up so quickly the chair scraped the floor. "Did she sign it?" Another pause. "Susan." I compared the authorization to older bank records. And it doesn't look right. For a second, all I heard was the refrigerator humming. "Forgery?" I asked. I am not making that accusation yet. Not officially. But I have enough concern to pause the process and trigger review. My hand shook as I gripped the phone. Does Olivia know? If she does, she may not understand what was submitted. That sounded like Olivia. Not because she was careless, but because Daniel had spent years convincing her paperwork was something he handled better. I could hear him clearly in my mind. Just sign here, sweetheart. It's only preliminary. Your father made things complicated. I'm trying to protect us. I walked to the window and looked out at the realtor's sign still standing in the yard. What do we do? I asked. I need you to contact Michael, Susan said. Today. And Christopher. Yes, do not confront Daniel alone. The warning settled cold in my stomach. You think he's dangerous? I think a man who may be desperate financially and willing to misuse his wife's name should not be underestimated. That was Susan's way of saying yes. After we hung up, I stood in the kitchen for a long time, phone still in my hand. I wanted to call Olivia. I wanted to ask her if she had signed anything. I wanted to tell her she was in deeper trouble than she knew. But if I called with accusations, Daniel would be ready. He would say Susan misunderstood. He would say I was meddling. He would say I had turned bank staff against him. And Olivia, still hurt and angry, might believe him. So I called Michael. He answered on the second ring. Chris. It started. I heard paper rustle on his end. What started Daniel tried to use Olivia's name for credit. Susan flagged it. There was no surprise in Michael's silence. Only confirmation. I'll call Susan, he said. Do not contact Daniel. I know. Do not contact Olivia yet either. That one hurt. She's my daughter, and right now, anything you say can be turned into evidence of harassment, interference, or emotional instability. I hated how easily those words fit Daniel's strategy. Michael continued. We need documentation, clean documentation, dates, application records, digital signatures, bank review notes. If we move too early, he escapes. And if we wait too long, then he may make another mistake. I gripped the counter. My daughter is not bait. No, Michael said firmly. But Daniel thinks money is. Let him keep chasing what he cannot reach. I looked toward the basement door. What about the trust? Secure. Filed, active. The house proceeds and control are protected. He cannot access them through Olivia. Relief came, but only halfway. The assets were safe. Olivia was not. That afternoon, I drove to Susan's branch office. I chose my old gray truck instead of the sedan because Daniel knew the sedan better. Maybe that sounds paranoid. Maybe it was. But grief and fear sharpen your habits in strange ways. Susan met me in a small conference room near the back. She was in her early 60s, with short silver hair and reading glasses hanging from a chain around her neck. Eleanor had always liked Susan. She said Susan had the rare gift of being kind without being soft. When I sat down, Susan placed a folder on the table. I can show you limited information, she said. Enough for your attorney to request more formally. I nodded. She opened the folder. There it was. Olivia Carter. Address, Social Security information partially masked, employment information, household income, estimated future assets, and then the authorization. I stared at the signature. It looked like Olivia's name at first glance. The O was close. The slant was close. But I had signed enough birthday cards beside my daughter's handwriting to know what was wrong. Olivia's signature always had a little break between the V and the I, a tiny lift of the pen she never noticed. This one did not. This isn't hers, I said. Susan watched me. You're certain? As certain as I am of my own name. She turned another page. The email used for confirmation was not Olivia's primary email. What was it? She pointed. It was close enough to fool someone in a hurry. Olivia's name, a dot in the wrong place, a number added at the end. A false door painted to look real. My anger rose so fast I had to put both hands under the table to hide them shaking. He's using her life like a toolbox, I said. Susan's eyes softened. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Keep everything. I already preserved the review file. Thank you. She closed the folder. There is one more thing. I looked up. The inquiry included a note from the applicant stating that family resistance might delay asset release. I froze. What exact words? She read from the page. Father-in-law currently creating emotional and procedural obstacles after spouse's death. Applicant's wife is expected beneficiary. Father-in-law. Emotional obstacles. Expected beneficiary. Daniel had turned my protection into a diagnosis. I could see it all now. He was building a narrative before the truth surfaced. If Olivia questioned him, he could say he was only trying to secure their future. If I objected, he could point to grief. If the bank hesitated, he could frame me as a bitter old man refusing to let go. Susan lowered the paper. Christopher Eleanor was right to worry. Hearing Eleanor's name in that room almost undid me. I looked away. She saw him before any of us wanted to, I said. Women often do. When I left the bank, rain had started. Not heavy, just a steady gray drizzle that blurred windshields and softened the edges of the world. I sat in my truck for nearly 10 minutes before starting the engine. My phone buzzed. For one wild second, I hoped it was Olivia. It was Daniel. Christopher. I hope we can talk soon. Olivia is still very hurt, but I believe with maturity on all sides we can resolve this. Family shouldn't be divided over money. I read it 3 times. Family shouldn't be divided over money. The man had just tried to reach through my daughter's name and grab what he thought was coming, and now he was texting me like a peacekeeper. I did not reply. Instead, I forwarded the message to Michael. His response came 2 minutes later. Good. Save everything. So I did. Every message, every date, every false concern, every polished sentence Daniel sent while digging beneath my daughter's feet. That night, I went back to the safe. I placed copies of Susan's preliminary notes inside, along with a printed copy of Daniel's text. Then I stood there, looking at Eleanor's envelope. For Olivia, it said. Not yet, I told myself, but for the first time, I wondered if not yet was becoming dangerous. Upstairs, rain tapped against the windows. Across town, my daughter slept beside a man who had used her signature like a stolen key. And I, her father, was still the villain in the story she believed. But now we had proof. Not enough to end it. Enough to begin. The family dinner was Carol's idea. My younger sister had always believed food could fix what pride had broken. In her mind, if people sat around the same table long enough, passed mashed potatoes, shared pie, and avoided politics, somehow forgiveness would walk in through the back door and take a seat. Chris, she told me over the phone, you and Olivia need to be in the same room. She asked for space. She asked for space because she's hurt. That doesn't mean I should ignore her boundary. Carol sighed. Since when did families start using therapy words to avoid hard conversations? I almost smiled. Eleanor would have said the same thing. The dinner was set for Sunday evening at Carol's house in Westerville. I did not want to go. Every instinct told me Daniel would use the room the way he used everything else as a stage. But Michael had told me to keep behaving like a reasonable father, not a man hiding from accusations. Go, he said. Be calm. Say little. Observe. So I went. Carol's house smelled of roast chicken buttered rolls and apple crisp. The dining room was already full when I arrived. My brother-in-law Frank was carving meat at the sideboard. My niece Rebecca was setting out glasses. A few cousins sat in the living room pretending not to notice when I walked in. Then I saw Olivia. She was standing near the fireplace in a dark green sweater, arms folded across her chest. She looked tired. Not just angry. Tired in a way that made my heart pull toward her before I could stop it. Lily stood beside her, taller than the last time I had seen her, wearing a denim jacket and holding a paper cup of lemonade. When her eyes met mine, her whole face changed. "Grandpa Chris." She took one step toward me. Olivia's hand moved gently to her shoulder. Not rough, not cruel, but enough. Lily stopped. That small pause nearly killed me. I smiled at my granddaughter anyway. "Hi, sweetheart." She looked at her mother, then back at me. "Hi." Daniel was on the sofa beside Carol's husband, laughing softly at something Frank said. He rose when he saw me, all manners and clean edges. "Christopher." "Daniel." He crossed the room and offered his hand. I shook it. His palm was warm, his grip steady. "Glad you came," he said. "I'm sure you are." His smile did not move, but his eyes sharpened. Carol clapped her hands from the kitchen doorway. "All right, everyone. Food's ready. Let's sit before Frank dries out my chicken." People laughed too quickly, grateful for something ordinary. We gathered around the long table. Olivia sat across from me. Daniel sat beside her. Lily was placed between Olivia and Rebecca, far enough from me to feel intentional, but not so far that anyone could call it cruel. That was how Daniel worked. Never obvious enough to accuse. Dinner began with careful politeness. Carol asked about work. Frank talked about a neighbor's broken fence. Someone mentioned the Browns and half the table groaned. I answered when spoken to and kept my hands folded when I was not eating. I could feel Olivia watching me. I could also feel Daniel watching Olivia watch me. Halfway through the meal, Carol leaned forward and said, "Olivia, honey, your father told me the house sale is moving along." The table quieted. I looked at my sister. She meant well. That was the trouble with people who meant well. They often handed matches to rooms full of gasoline. Olivia set down her fork. "Yes," she said. "Apparently it is." Carol looked between us. "Maybe tonight we can all just talk things through." Daniel put his hand over Olivia's. "Only if Liv feels ready." A few people nodded, impressed by his sensitivity. Olivia pulled her hand back, not from anger at him, but because emotion was rising. "I don't know what there is to talk through," I said quietly. "We don't have to do this here." Her eyes flashed. "That's convenient," Olivia Carroll said gently. "No, Aunt Carol. Everyone keeps acting like this is a misunderstanding." Olivia looked around the table. "It isn't." My fork rested beside my plate. I did not move. She looked straight at me. "My father sold the house my mother loved. He did it without asking me, without considering Lily, without respecting what that home meant to this family." Daniel lowered his gaze with the expression of a man suffering nobly. I said, "The house meant everything to me too." Then why Olivia demanded, there it was again. The question I could answer and could not answer, because I had to. She laughed once, sharp and wounded. "You always say that. I know." "No, you don't know. You don't know what it feels like to have your own father treat you like a child who can't handle the truth." My heart pounded. Across the table, Lily's eyes moved from her mother to me. "Maybe some truths should not be thrown across dinner tables," I said. Daniel spoke then, soft and careful. "Christopher, I respect that this is painful, but Olivia deserves transparency." I turned to him. "Transparency?" He nodded. "Yes, that's an interesting word from you." His face did not change, but the room felt the shift. Olivia sat straighter. "What is that supposed to mean?" Daniel touched her sleeve. "Liv, don't let him redirect this. Redirect." Another polished word. I looked at my daughter, and for 1 second, I nearly broke. I nearly told everyone at that table about the loan inquiry, the false email, the signature that was almost hers, but not quite. I nearly stood up and said, "Ask your husband what he tried to do with your name." But Michael's warning rang in my head. If you move too soon, he escapes. So I swallowed the truth like glass. It means, I said slowly, not everyone at this table knows as much as they think they do. But Michael's warning rang in my head. If you move too soon, he escapes. So I swallowed the truth like glass. It means, I said slowly, not everyone at this table knows as much as they think they do. Olivia's face hardened. There it is, the mysterious father, the man with secrets, the only wise person in the room. Olivia, no. Her voice cracked, but she kept going. You destroyed this family, and now you sit here acting like a martyr. Carol whispered. Sweetheart, please. But Olivia had waited too long to say these things. Once the door opened, every hurt came running out. You said no to my business. You kept Mom's jewelry from me. You controlled her memorial. You sold the house. Every time I needed you to trust me, you chose control instead. Daniel looked at the table, his mouth tight with hidden satisfaction. I saw it, and this time, so did Lily. My granddaughter stared at him for a moment, confused, as if some small curtain had moved and shown her something she did not understand. I kept my voice steady. I have made mistakes. Olivia's eyes filled. That's not enough. No, I said. It isn't, then say it. She leaned forward. Say you were wrong. The room went silent. I could feel every person waiting. If I said it, Daniel would win the moment. If I refused, Olivia would believe I cared more about pride than her pain. So I chose the only truth I could give. I am sorry I hurt you, I said. But I am not sorry for protecting what needed to be protected. Olivia pushed back her chair. Protected, she said. From what? From me, I did not answer. And my silence condemned me in every eye around that table. Daniel rose beside her, placing himself close, but not too close. Maybe we should go. Olivia wiped her cheek. Yes, we should. Lily stood slowly. Mom, get your coat. Lily, my granddaughter looked at me. Her lips parted as if she wanted to say something, but Olivia's pain filled the room too fully for a child to cross it. I gave Lily a small nod. It was all I could give her. As Olivia moved toward the hallway, she stopped and turned back. Mom would not recognize you. No one breathed. The words struck the room like a dropped plate. I looked at my daughter, and behind her I saw Eleanor in a dozen memories laughing in Carol's kitchen, holding newborn Olivia dancing barefoot in our living room, whispering from a hospital bed. Love her more than you need her approval. I stood. Your mother knew me, I said. My voice was quiet, but something in it made Olivia pause. She knew exactly who I was. For the first time that night, uncertainty flickered across her face. Daniel stepped in quickly. Come on, Liv. And just like that, the flicker was gone. They left 5 minutes later. The house remained silent after the front door closed. Carol began gathering plates with shaking hands. Frank muttered something about coffee. Nobody looked directly at me. Finally, my cousin Mark said, Chris, maybe you could have explained more. I nodded. Maybe? Carol's eyes were wet. I'm sorry. I thought if we all talked. You tried to help. But I made it worse. No, I said, looking toward the door Daniel had walked through. He did. Carol lowered her voice. Daniel, I did not answer. Not because I did not trust my sister, but because Daniel's talent was turning partial truth into proof of someone else's instability. Until we had enough. Every word was a risk. I drove home in the dark. The rain had stopped leaving the streets glossy under the traffic lights. My phone buzzed just as I pulled into the driveway. Michael, I answered before getting out of the truck. Chris? He said, "Are you home?" Just got here. I need you to listen. My body went still. What happened? We found the second document. I gripped the steering wheel. What second document? The one Eleanor referenced in her notes, but we couldn't locate. Susan's internal review helped connect it. My breath slowed. Michael continued. It appears Daniel had a prior draft agreement prepared months before Eleanor died, a transfer framework. If signed, it would have allowed Olivia to assign expected inheritance rights into a marital asset management structure. I closed my eyes. He was planning this before she died. Yes. The truck cab seemed suddenly too small. Michael, I said, does Olivia's name appear on it? A pause. Yes. Her real signature? I don't think so. I opened my eyes and looked at the dark outline of the house Eleanor had loved. The family had condemned me that night. My daughter had called me the destroyer. But somewhere inside the paper trail, Daniel had finally left a footprint deep enough to follow. Michael's voice came through the phone low and firm. Chris, it's time to open the safe. I opened the safe at 11:42 that night. I remember the time because the old clock upstairs struck once as I turned the dial, then paused, then struck again and again until the sound seemed to travel through the floorboards and settle in my bones. The basement was colder than the rest of the house. It always had been. Eleanor used to say basements kept the memories people were not ready to throw away. Around me were shelves of Christmas ornaments, paint cans, old suitcases, Lily's childhood toys, and cardboard boxes labeled in Eleanor's neat handwriting. Kitchen linens, Olivia school papers, Christmas angels. I stood in front of the steel safe with Michael's words still ringing in my ears. It's time to open the safe. My hand hovered over the handle. For months, I had treated that safe like a locked room inside my own heart. I knew what was in it, but knowing and facing are not the same thing. Once I opened it fully, once we brought everything into the light, there would be no going back. Daniel would know we had been watching. Olivia would learn we had hidden things from her. And Eleanor's final fears would stop being private grief and become evidence. I turned the handle. The safe opened with a low metal groan. Inside sat the red folder, Eleanor's sealed envelope to Olivia copies of the trust papers, banknotes from Susan old property records, insurance documents, and a smaller black notebook I had not touched since the week after Eleanor died. That notebook was hers. I took it out first. The cover was soft leather, worn at the corners. Eleanor had used it during her illness when speaking tired her out. Sometimes she wrote questions for the doctors. Sometimes grocery reminders she knew we did not need. Sometimes little notes to me. Don't let Olivia see you cry every time. It scares her. Lily likes the blue blanket best. Tell Carol I know she watered down the soup. Even dying Eleanor had noticed everything. I opened the notebook carefully. The first pages were ordinary. Medication times, appointment dates, names of nurses she liked. Then about halfway through the handwriting changed. It became smaller, tighter, more deliberate. Daniel asked about deed again. The first pages were ordinary. Medication times, appointment dates, names of nurses she liked. Then about halfway through the handwriting changed. It became smaller, tighter, more deliberate. Daniel asked about deed again. Thanksgiving. Daniel in hallway near bedroom photo frame moved. Daniel suggested asset simplification after my treatment. Daniel told Olivia paperwork confuses her when she is emotional. I sat back on my heels reading the lines beneath the bare bulb. Each note was a breadcrumb my wife had left in the dark. Some entries were only fragments. DC watched Chris put study key in drawer. Olivia defended him immediately. Do not accuse before proof. That one made my throat tighten. Do not accuse before proof. Even when her body was failing, Eleanor had understood the trap better than I did. She knew Daniel's power did not come from force. It came from reputation. He had built himself into the reasonable man, the patient husband, the steady one. If we attacked him too soon, he would not look guilty. We would. I turned another page and found something I had forgotten. A list of phrases, Daniel's phrases. Liv gets overwhelmed. Let me handle it. Your father is making this harder. We need to think practically. Family money should serve the living, not the dead. I remembered that last one. He had said it in our backyard while Eleanor's roses were still blooming. Olivia had gone inside to get lemonade. Daniel had stood beside me near the garden and looked at the house, not with affection, but calculation. Family money should serve the living, he had said. At the time, I answered, family money should not be used to bury the living before they are dead. He had smiled. Now I understood why he had not argued. He had already been planning around me. Behind the notebook was the red folder. I pulled it out and carried it to the old workbench where I used to fix lamps and sharpen garden tools. I opened it slowly. The first section held copies of deed records. Our house purchased jointly by Eleanor and me. Refinanced once. Paid down steadily. Never placed in Olivia's name. Never placed near Daniel's reach. The second section held printouts from Susan. Notes about inquiries Daniel had made at bank events, questions phrased as hypotheticals, discussions about spousal asset management and expected inheritance. The third section held Eleanor's handwritten timeline. The fourth held the document Michael had mentioned, the second document. I knew it the moment I saw the header. Marital Asset Management Agreement. Preliminary draft. My stomach turned. The draft was dated 4 months before Eleanor died. 4 months. While my wife was fighting for breath, while Olivia was sleeping in hospital chairs, while Lily was drawing get-well cards with hearts in the corners, Daniel had been preparing a structure to pull Olivia's future inheritance into marital control. Not his inheritance. Not his property. Olivia's expected inheritance. I read the lines once, then again. The language was polished, legal, and cold. It suggested that any future assets received by Olivia through gift inheritance, trust distribution, property sale, or family settlement could be placed into a jointly managed marital planning account for the stability of the household. Stability. There was always a soft word for a hard theft. Near the last page, I saw Olivia's printed name, then a signature. My knees weakened. It was not hers. It was closer than the bank authorization, but not close enough. The O was too sharp. The final R in Carter curved wrong. The spacing was unnatural, as if copied slowly by someone trying to imitate movement without understanding rhythm. I put one hand on the workbench. Eleanor had seen this coming, and I had still underestimated him. I took out my phone and called Michael. He answered as if he had been waiting with the phone in his hand. Did you find it? Yes. Signature. Forged. I'm sure. Photograph every page, then put it back in the folder. I'll file a formal request tomorrow morning. I looked at Eleanor's notebook. There's more. Her notes are stronger than I remembered. Good forged. I'm sure. Photograph every page, then put it back in the folder. I'll file a formal request tomorrow morning. I looked at Eleanor's notebook. There's more. Her notes are stronger than I remembered. Good, Michael said. We need pattern, not just paper. What happens now? Now we prepare for disclosure. Not to Daniel first, not to the family, to Olivia. My hand tightened around the phone. She won't believe me. She may not believe you, Michael said, but she may believe her mother. My eyes moved to the envelope. For Olivia. Eleanor's handwriting had faded slightly, but the letters still felt alive. I don't know if I can give it to her, I said. You may have to. After we hung up, I stayed in the basement with the safe open. I photographed the draft agreement page by page. I photographed Eleanor's notebook entries. I photographed the banknotes, the trust confirmation, the old deed copies, and Daniel's text message I had printed and placed inside the folder. Each photo felt like a nail in the coffin of the man my daughter still trusted. And yet I felt no victory, only grief. Because proving Daniel guilty meant proving Olivia had been betrayed in her own home, in her own marriage by the man she had defended against everyone, by the man she had chosen over me. I reached again for Eleanor's envelope. This time I did not just hold it. I sat on the basement stairs and placed it in my lap. The envelope was sealed, but age and handling had softened the glue at one corner. I could have opened it without tearing much. I could have read the words Eleanor had saved for our daughter. I could have borrowed my wife's courage for the road ahead. But the letter was not mine. So I held it against my chest and closed my eyes. I don't know how to do this, I whispered. The basement gave no answer, but memory did. Eleanor's voice came back to me weak but certain. Love her more than you need her approval. I opened my eyes. That sentence had carried me through every silence, every accusation, every cold look from Olivia. But now it asked something even harder. Not just to be hated, not just to wait, but to decide when waiting became another kind of harm. If Daniel had already forged her name once, maybe twice, what would stop him from doing it again? If he had tried to borrow against assets he did not own, what debt was chasing him? If Olivia discovered the truth alone, would he twist it before she could reach me? I stood and returned the envelope to the safe. But this time, I placed it on top of everything else. Not hidden beneath records, not tucked behind legal papers, on top. Ready. Then I closed the safe, but did not spin the dial. For the first time since Eleanor died, I left it unlocked. Upstairs, the house felt different. Not warmer, not lighter, but awake. I walked into the living room where Olivia had once accused me of selling her mother's memory. The moonlight fell across the empty walls, the packed boxes, the fading marks where family photographs used to hang. I thought of my daughter standing there crying, believing I had chosen money. I thought of Lily stopping herself from running into my arms at Carol's house. I thought of Daniel's hand on Olivia's shoulder. Then I thought of the forged signature, and something in me settled. I was done waiting for Daniel to make the next move. The next morning, I would call Michael, then Susan, then somehow Olivia. She might hang up. She might scream. She might call me cruel again. But this time, I would not come empty-handed. I would come with her mother's truth. The next morning, I called Olivia 3 times. She did not answer. The first call went straight to voicemail. The second rang twice before cutting off. The third rang once, which told me enough. She had seen my name. She had chosen not to hear my voice. I stood in the kitchen with the phone in my hand, staring at the sunlight on the floor. That kitchen had witnessed the beginning of almost every important thing in our family. Olivia's first day of school pictures, Lily's birthday cupcakes, Eleanor's quiet prayers before doctor appointments. Now it was the place where I rehearsed words my daughter might never let me say. I did not leave a voicemail. What could I say? Your husband may have forged your signature. You are not angry at the right man. Your mother knew before she died. None of those were messages to leave on a machine. So I called Michael. She won't answer, I said. I expected that. I didn't. Michael was quiet for a moment. Chris' grief makes us hope for shortcuts. I leaned against the counter. I don't want a shortcut. I want 5 minutes. You may get them, but not by chasing her. Then what? We let the evidence create pressure, where your words cannot. I knew what he meant. Susan had begun her internal review. The bank would eventually contact Olivia directly. If her name had been used, she would have to confirm or deny authorization. Daniel could explain away my accusations, but he could not as easily explain a bank fraud review. Still waiting felt like standing outside a burning house while someone inside insisted the smoke was only fog. By noon, the pressure found her. At 12:38, my phone rang. Olivia. I answered so quickly, I nearly dropped it. Olivia. Her breathing came through first. Shallow, uneven. Did you call the bank about me? I closed my eyes. No, don't lie to me. I answered so quickly, I nearly dropped it. Olivia. Her breathing came through first. Shallow, uneven. Did you call the bank about me? I closed my eyes. No, don't lie to me. I'm not lying. Then why did someone from the bank just call asking if I authorized a credit application? There it was. Susan had moved faster than I expected. I kept my voice calm. What did you tell them? That I didn't know what they were talking about. Her voice shook. Then Daniel said it was probably something preliminary he looked into for our financial planning. Did you sign anything I don't know? My heart clenched. Olivia, I don't know. Dad, she snapped. There have been a lot of papers lately. Insurance, taxes, Lily's school forms. Daniel handles most of it because I've been overwhelmed. There was no accusation in that last sentence, only exhaustion, and beneath it, the first sound of fear. Listen to me carefully, I said. Do not sign anything else today. Silence, then colder. There you go again, Olivia. Telling me what to do. I am asking you to protect yourself. And beneath it, the first sound of fear. Listen to me carefully, I said. Do not sign anything else today. Silence, then colder. There you go again, Olivia. Telling me what to do. I am asking you to protect yourself. From my husband, I did not answer quickly enough. Her laugh broke in the middle. Unbelievable. Did he create an email account using your name? What an email with your name, but not your normal address. She went quiet. That silence was different. Not anger. Recognition. Olivia, I saw something, she whispered. My fingers tightened around the phone. What did you see? Last week, on Daniel's laptop. I walked into the den and he closed a browser window. I thought it was work, but I saw my name in the corner. An email account I didn't recognize. Did you ask him? Yes, and he said it was a shared document login for financial planning. I pressed my free hand against the counter. Did that make sense to you? At the time, she said. I wanted it to. Those 4 words hurt because they were honest. I heard a door close on her end. Her voice dropped. I'm in the garage. Is Daniel home? He's upstairs. He thinks I'm getting something from the car. Good. Stay where you are. Don't talk to me like I'm a child. I'm talking to you like you may be in danger. Her breath caught. For the first time, she did not immediately reject it. Then she whispered, What do you know? I looked toward the basement door. Everything. Not enough. Too much. I know there was a credit inquiry in your name. I know the signature may not be yours. I know Daniel was listed as a secondary contact. I know this is not the first time he has tried to connect himself to money he expected you to receive. The garage was silent on her end. Then she said, expected to receive from you. Yes. Her voice became very small. But you sold the house. I know what you think I did. What does that mean? Before I could answer, I heard Daniel's voice faintly in the background. Liv. Everything okay? Olivia inhaled sharply. I have to go. Olivia, wait. The call ended. I stood frozen, phone still against my ear. For the first time in months, my daughter had listened long enough for doubt to enter. That afternoon, doubt began doing what truth often cannot do at first. It started knocking on doors inside her memory. I learned later what happened after she hung up. She went back upstairs. Daniel was standing in the hallway outside their bedroom, smiling with that careful concern he wore like a tailored coat. Everything okay? He asked. She held up a reusable grocery bag she had grabbed from the garage. I forgot this. He looked at it, then at her face. You seem upset. The bank called. His expression shifted only slightly, but Olivia knew him well enough by then to notice the pause. Oh, he said. Right. That. He sighed, as if disappointed but patient. I was going to tell you once I had more information. About a loan in my name. Not a loan. An option. A financial tool. With my signature. His eyes softened. Liv, we've signed so many things together. You probably forgot. There it was. The old spell. You forgot. You misunderstood. You get emotional. But this time, something inside her did not fold. I didn't create that email account, she said. Daniel's face stilled. What email account? The one with my name. He gave a small laugh. Your father has been talking to you. Olivia stared at him. Not denial, not confusion, an attack. That was the first crack she could not unsee. Why would you say that, she asked. Because this sounds like him. He has been trying to turn you against me since your mother died. My mother has nothing to do with this. Daniel stepped closer. Your mother's death has everything to do with this. Your father is drowning in guilt and control, and he's dragging you with him. A week earlier, she might have cried. A month earlier, she might have defended Daniel. That day, she looked past him toward the den, toward his laptop, toward the room where she had seen her own name on an account she had never opened. I need to see the documents, she said. Daniel blinked. What? The financial planning documents, the application, the email, all of it. He smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. Now, yes. Liv, don't let your father's paranoia make you suspicious of your own husband. The financial planning documents, the application, the email, all of it. He smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. Now. Yes. Liv, don't let your father's paranoia make you suspicious of your own husband. She said nothing. And because she said nothing, Daniel made his first real mistake. His voice hardened. After everything I've done for you, you're going to stand here and interrogate me because Christopher Blake whispered poison in your ear. Olivia later told me that was the moment she heard him clearly. Not as the loving husband everyone praised. Not as the calm man who organized the paperwork, but as a man angry that his script had been interrupted. She stepped back. I'm going to Lily's school pickup early. Daniel's expression changed again. Why? Because I want to. He reached for her arm. Not violently, not enough to leave a mark, but enough to stop her. And for the first time, Olivia looked down at his hand as if it did not belong there. Let go, she said. He did. She left the house with her purse, her keys, and no plan except distance. At 3:16, she called me again. This time, she was crying. "Dad," she said, "who did you sell the house to?" The question hit me with full force. Not why. Not how could you. Who? That meant she had started thinking like someone following money instead of emotion. I sat down slowly. "Why are you asking?" "Because Daniel said something strange. He said if you really sold it, there should be proceeds available soon. He said, once things calm down, you'll come around." I closed my eyes. Daniel had counted on my love as leverage. "Dad," she whispered, "where did the money go?" I looked toward the basement door, then toward the framed photo of Eleanor still sitting on the kitchen shelf. "It's protected," I said. "Protected how? I need to tell you in person." "No." Panic sharpened her voice. "Tell me now. Olivia, some of this needs documents in front of you. Is it gone?" "No." "Did you gamble it? Hide it? Give it away?" "No." "Then where is it? In a trust?" Silence. A long, trembling silence. "For who?" she asked. I could barely speak. "For you and Lily." Her breathing broke. "What?" "The house was never sold the way you thought. The transfer was structured to protect it. Your mother and I planned it with Michael." "My mother?" "Yes." "No." Her voice cracked. No mom didn't know about this. She knew more than anyone. I heard her begin to cry softly, not with anger this time, but with the terrible sound of a person realizing the floor beneath her life had not been where she thought it was. "Why didn't you tell me?" she whispered. "Because you were not ready to believe me." She did not argue. That silence told me more than words. Then faintly, Lily's voice came through the phone. "Mom, are you okay?" Olivia sniffed. "I'm okay, honey. She came back to me. I can't talk now. I understand." "Dad." "Yes, don't call Daniel. I won't. Indeed, don't tell him I called you. I won't the phone." "Mom, are you okay?" Olivia sniffed. "I'm okay, honey. She came back to me. I can't talk now. I understand." "Dad." "Yes, don't call Daniel." "I won't, and don't tell him I called you." "I won't." Another pause. Then she said the first thing that gave me hope. "I think I need to see Michael." I closed my eyes. Across months of anger, through walls of misunderstanding, through every lie Daniel had laid between us, my daughter had finally taken one step toward the truth. Not toward me yet, but toward truth. And that was close enough for hope to breathe. Olivia did not come to Michael's office alone. She brought Lily. That told me two things before my daughter said a word. First, she did not feel safe leaving Lily at home with Daniel. Second, even in her confusion, even while the truth was only beginning to cut through the fog, she was still a mother before she was anything else. Michael's office sat above the bakery downtown, the same place where Eleanor used to buy lemon cookies after our estate planning appointments. The smell of butter and warm bread came up through the old floorboards, strangely gentle for a day, that felt like it might split our family open for good. I arrived early. Too early. Michael found me standing by the window in his conference room, staring down at the street. "You look like a man waiting for a verdict," he said. "I am." He placed a folder on the table. "No. You're waiting for your daughter. That feels heavier." He did not argue. On the table were 3 neat stacks of paper. Michael had organized everything with the calm precision of a man who knew emotion needed order if truth was going to survive the room. The first stack held the trust documents. The second held the property transfer records. The third held bank review notes and the questionable signatures. Eleanor's envelope sat apart from all of them. I had brought it in my coat pocket. I had not been able to let it out of my sight. When Olivia arrived, I heard her voice before I saw her. Soft, careful. "Thank you, Ms. Turner." Michael's assistant let her in. Olivia stepped through the doorway wearing jeans, a gray coat, and no makeup. Her eyes were swollen as if she had slept badly or cried too long, or both. Lily stood beside her, clutching her backpack with both hands. She looked from me to the table, then to Michael, sensing adult trouble with the sharp instinct children develop when homes become unpredictable. "Hi, Grandpa," Chris Lily whispered. I stood. "Hi, sweetheart." This time, Olivia did not stop her. Lily crossed the room quickly and hugged me. I closed my arms around her and shut my eyes. For 1 second, all the legal documents disappeared. All the signatures, the bank calls, the lies, the house, the hurt. There was only my granddaughter's small frame pressed against me and the faint scent of strawberry shampoo in her hair. "I missed you," she whispered. My throat tightened. "I missed you too." Olivia looked away, not because she was angry, because she was ashamed. Michael cleared his throat gently. "Lily, my assistant has hot chocolate and a very old golden retriever in the reception area if you'd like to sit with them while the adults talk." Lily looked at Olivia. Olivia nodded. "It's okay, honey. It'll be right here." After Lily left the room, became heavier. Olivia remained standing near the door. I wanted to cross to her. I wanted to hold her the way I had held Lily. But fatherhood changes when your child becomes an adult. Sometimes love has to stand still and wait for permission. "Olivia," I said. She looked at me, and I saw the little girl inside her for half a second. Then she said, "I don't know what I'm ready to hear." Michael gestured toward the table. "Then we'll start with what can be proven." We sat. Olivia chose the chair across from me, not beside me. I accepted that. Trust once cracked does not sit close, just because truth does not sit close, just because truth enters the room. Michael began with the house. The public listing and transfer were structured in a way that made it appear Christopher was selling and liquidating the family home, he said. That was intentional. Enters the room. Michael began with the house. The public listing and transfer were structured in a way that made it appear Christopher was selling and liquidating the family home, he said. That was intentional. Olivia's eyes moved to me. Intentional. "Yes," I said. Her face tightened. "So you wanted me to think the worst?" "No. I expected Daniel to think the wrong thing." Michael slid the first document toward her. The property was transferred into the Blake Family Protective Trust. The trust was created for the benefit of you and Lily. Olivia stared at the page but did not touch it. "That doesn't make sense." "It will," Michael said. The trust prevents a spouse creditor or outside party from accessing or pressuring control over the asset without very specific legal conditions being met. "A spouse," she repeated. Her voice was thin. I said nothing. Michael continued. "Your mother and father began discussing this structure, and father began discussing this structure before Eleanor's death." Olivia flinched. "Mom," I reached into my coat pocket but did not take out the envelope yet. "She was part of it," I said. Olivia shook her head slowly. "No, she would have told me. She wanted to, before Eleanor's death." Olivia flinched. "Mom," I reached into my coat pocket but did not take out the envelope yet. "She was part of it," I said. Olivia shook her head slowly. "No, she would have told me. She wanted to." "Then why didn't she?" "Because she was afraid Daniel would turn you against her too." The words landed brutally. Olivia stood up, pushing the chair back. "Don't!" I'm sorry. No, don't use Mom against Daniel just because you never liked him. I tried to like him. She laughed once bitterly. You had a funny way of showing it. Michael's voice stayed calm. Olivia, I know this is painful, but before you decide what this means emotionally, you need to see the pattern financially. She remained standing, breathing hard. Then she sat again. Michael moved to the second stack. He showed her the bank inquiry, the unfamiliar email account, the electronic authorization, the questionable signature. Olivia stared at her printed name, then the signature beneath it. Her face changed. "That's not mine," she whispered. No one spoke. She picked up the page with both hands. "That's not mine." Her eyes moved quickly now, scanning the lines, the numbers, the references to expected family assets. "What is this?" she asked. Michael answered, "A secured credit inquiry tied to anticipated family funds." "I didn't authorize this." "I believe you." She looked at me then. For the first time in months, there was no anger in her eyes, only fear. Did Daniel do this? I wanted to say yes, but this moment required truth, not revenge. "We don't know everything yet," I said, "but his name is connected to it." She pressed her hand to her mouth. Michael then showed her the second document, the marital asset management draft. Olivia read the title twice. "I've never seen this." "Look at the date," Michael said. She did. 4 months before Eleanor died. I watched understanding begin to move through her face, like a storm gathering over open land. This was before Mom. She could not finish. "Yes," Michael said. She turned the page. Her signature appeared near the bottom. She stared at it. Then she stood so abruptly, the chair struck the wall behind her. "No," I rose too. "Olivia, no." She shook her head harder. "No, no." She shook her head harder. "No, no, 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 no." Michael stayed seated, giving her space. Olivia backed away from the table. "He said you were trying to keep me dependent. He said you didn't trust me. He said you thought I was too emotional to manage anything." Tears spilled over. "He said I needed someone steady." I closed my eyes. Daniel's cruelty had always been quiet, but now spoken in her voice it sounded unbearable. Olivia looked at me. "Why didn't you tell me I tried in every way I could without losing you completely?" "You lost me anyway." "I know." That truth stood between us. No defense could soften it. She wrapped her arms around herself. "You let me hate you." "Yes." Why I reached into my coat pocket. My hand closed around Eleanor's envelope, but I did not pull it out yet. "Because your mother asked me to protect you, even if you misunderstood me." Olivia's face twisted. "Stop saying that." "Olivia, stop making Mom part of this." I finally placed the envelope on the table. The room went silent. Olivia stared at it. Her name, written in Eleanor's hand, lay across the front. For a long time, she did not move. Then her knees seemed to weaken and she sat slowly. "What is that?" "A letter." Her voice broke. "From Mom." "Yes." "When did she write it?" "Before she died." Olivia reached towards it, then pulled her hand back as if the paper were hot. "Did you read it? No." She looked at me sharply. "I swear to you," I said, "it was for you." The truth is, that was the first thing she believed without resistance. Maybe because she knew Eleanor. Maybe because some part of her still knew me. Maybe because even pain recognizes reverence when it sees it. Michael spoke softly. You do not have to open it today. Olivia kept staring at the envelope. Outside the conference room, Lily laughed at something a bright child's sound that made all three adults go still. Olivia covered her mouth and began to cry. I brought Lily because I was scared to leave her with him, she said. The words were barely audible. I felt every protective instinct in me rise at once. Come home with me, I said. She shook her head. I don't know where home is right now. The trust can protect the property, Michael said. But today we need to protect you and Lily. You have options. Olivia looked at the papers again. The house, she whispered. I thought you sold it because you wanted to erase her. No, I said. I protected it because your mother wanted it to shelter you, not trap you. Her eyes closed. For the first time, she did not argue. She only cried. And while she cried, I understood the terrible mercy of truth. It does not heal first. First, it breaks the lie. Daniel showed up at my house that evening. Not at Michael's office, not at the bank, not at Carol's, where he could perform for an audience. He came to Maple Ridge Lane just after sunset, when the windows were dark enough to reflect a man back to himself. I saw his car pull into the driveway from the living room window. A black Lexus, clean, polished, silent. For a moment, I simply stood there and watched him sit behind the wheel. He did not get out right away. He looked at the house, then toward the realtor's sign, then down at his phone. I knew he was calculating. Daniel never arrived anywhere without deciding first which version of himself the room required. When he finally stepped out, he wore a charcoal coat, dark slacks, and the expression of a concerned son-in-law. If someone had passed by on the sidewalk, they might have thought he was here to comfort an old man. I did not open the door until he knocked twice. Christopher, he said. Daniel, may I come in? No. His eyebrows lifted slightly. I think we should talk. I agree, but not inside. For the first time, irritation moved across his face before he caught it. It's cold out here. Then speak quickly. He looked past my shoulder into the house. Is Olivia here? No. Lily? No. His eyes returned to mine. That was what he had come to find out. He smiled faintly. Good. Then this can stay between us. Nothing stays between us anymore. His smile thinned. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. The porch light cast a yellow circle around us. Behind him, the maple tree moved. In the evening, the maple tree moved. In the evening, wind, its branches scraping softly against the gutter. Daniel slipped his hands into his coat pockets. Olivia is very confused right now, he said. No, she is becoming less confused. That's what you think, whined its branches scraping softly against the gutter. Daniel slipped his hands into his coat pockets. Olivia is very confused right now, he said. No, she is becoming less confused. That's what you think. He let out a quiet laugh. You dragged a grieving woman into a lawyer's office and filled her head with accusations. I showed her documents. You showed her your interpretation. Her signature was forged. His face hardened just for a second. Then the smoothness returned. Careful, Christopher. That is a serious accusation. It is. Do you have any idea what it could do to Olivia if you keep pushing this? Yes. No, you don't. He stepped closer. You think you're protecting her, but you're tearing apart her marriage. You're making her doubt the only person who has been there for her while you played secret games with houses and trusts. I studied him. There it was. Not fear for Olivia, fear of losing control over her. You should leave, I said. I will, after you hear me. I've heard enough from you. No, you haven't. His voice lowered. The trust, the house, the money. Whatever clever little structure you and Michael built in Doe it. I did not move. His mask had slipped completely now. Not fallen. Daniel was too disciplined for that, but enough of it had cracked that I could see the man Eleanor had warned me about. Why would I do that? I asked. Because Olivia deserves access to what is hers. She has it. Safely? Safely. His laugh had no warmth. Locked behind you and an old attorney locked away from you. The words landed exactly where I wanted them to. Daniel's eyes went flat. You have no idea what you're interfering with. I have a growing idea. He looked toward the street, then back at me. You think I'm some villain because I tried to plan for my family? No. I think you are a thief because you used my daughter's name without her permission. His jaw tightened. I never forced Olivia to do anything. That is not the same as innocence. He leaned closer. You don't know your daughter as well as you think. That was meant to wound me. A month earlier it might have. Now it only told me where he aimed when cornered. No, I said. But I know what her real signature looks like. For the first time, Daniel did not have an answer ready. That silence gave me more satisfaction than anger would have. Then my phone rang inside the house. The sound startled both of us. I glanced toward the table near the door where my cell lay beside Eleanor's framed photo. Daniel looked too. The screen lit up. Olivia. His head turned back to me. Don't answer that. The command came out before he could soften it. I looked at him. Then I opened the door wider, stepped inside, just enough to pick up the phone and answered. Olivia. Her voice was shaking. Dad, is Daniel there? I looked at Daniel standing on my porch. Yes, she breathed in sharply. Don't let him in. I didn't. Daniel's expression changed. Something had happened. What's wrong? I asked. I found the pape. What's wrong? I asked. I found the pape. S. What papers? In his locked drawer. I knew where he kept the spare key. There are copies of the trust documents, printed emails, notes about you, notes about Mom, and Dad. Her voice broke. I gripped the phone. Tell me, what papers in his locked drawer? I knew where he kept the spare key. There are copies of the trust documents, printed emails, notes about you, notes about Mom, and Dad. Her voice broke. I gripped the phone. Tell me, there's a list of debts. Daniel stepped toward me. I raised one hand, stopping him without touching him. Olivia continued credit cards. A private loan, something from a business investment. It's more than I thought. It's so much more. Daniel's face darkened. Give me the phone, he said. I ignored him. Where are you? In the car with Lily. We left. Good. Drive to Michael's office or Carol's. I'm going to Aunt Carol's. Keep driving. Do not stop. Daniel moved closer. Olivia, if you can hear me, come home. You're emotional. I stepped back and closed the door halfway, putting wood between us. Olivia heard him. Her voice changed. Not louder, stronger. I'm not emotional, Daniel. I'm awake. I stepped back and closed the door halfway, putting wood between us. Olivia heard him. Her voice changed. Not louder, stronger. I'm not emotional, Daniel. I'm awake. Then the line went quiet for half a breath. Daniel stared through the opening at me. I said into the phone, I'll meet you at Carol's. No. Olivia said quickly, stay where you are. I already called Michael. He said to save everything and not let Daniel near me. Daniel's hand struck the door, not hard enough to break it, hard enough to show me what Olivia had likely seen before in smaller ways. "Open the door," he said. I looked through the gap at the man who had smiled in our church, eaten at our table, held my granddaughter, and waited for my wife to die so he could reach my daughter's inheritance. "No." His voice dropped. "You have ruined everything." "No, Daniel, you did that. I only locked the door." For a moment, his control vanished. His face twisted with a rage so naked it seemed almost young. Not the rage of a powerful man, the rage of a man who had been denied something he believed already belonged to him. "This was never your choice," he said. "My daughter was never your property." His eyes flickered. Then my phone buzzed again. A text from Michael appeared at the top of the screen. "Police report started. Tell him to leave. Do not engage further." I looked back at Daniel. "You need to leave now," he laughed under his breath. "Or what? Or the next conversation you have will not be with me." He held my gaze. The wind moved between us. Then slowly he stepped back. But he was not done. Men like Daniel rarely surrender in the first room where they are exposed. He adjusted his coat, smoothed his expression, and became someone else again. "You're making a mistake," he said. "No, for once everyone is seeing yours." He walked back to his car. I watched until the Lexus backed out of the driveway and disappeared down the street. Only then did I realize my hands were shaking. I locked the door, then the deadbolt, then the chain Eleanor used to tease me for installing. My phone rang again. Carol this time, I answered. "She's here," my sister said breathlessly. "Olivia and Lily are here. They're safe." The relief hit me so hard I had to sit down on the stairs. "Let me talk to her." There was muffled movement. Then Olivia came on the line. "Dad, I'm here. He came to you." "Yes. Did he hurt you?" "No." Her breath shook. "I'm sorry. Not now." "No. Dad, please." Her voice broke open. "I'm sorry I didn't believe you." I closed my eyes. Those were the words I had longed to hear for months. And yet they did not bring triumph. They brought sorrow. Because no child apologizes for being manipulated without bleeding inside. "We will talk about all of that later," I said. "Right now, you and Lily are safe. That is all that matters." "I found Mom's name in his notes," she whispered. My eyes opened. "What?" "He wrote about her. He wrote that she was the primary obstacle before death." The room around me seemed to darken. Primary obstacle before death. I looked at Eleanor's photograph on the table. My wife had known, and Daniel had known that she knew. Olivia was crying now. "What kind of man writes that?" I could not soften the answer. "The kind your mother tried to save you from." She sobbed once quietly. Then she said, "I want to read her letter." I looked toward the basement door. The safe was unlocked. The envelope was waiting. "I'll bring it," I said. "No," Olivia whispered. "I want to read it with you." For a long time, I could not answer, because in that simple request was the first bridge back to me. Not full forgiveness, not healing yet, but a bridge. "I'll come to Carol's," I said. I stood slowly, grabbed my coat, and took Eleanor's envelope from the safe. As I held it in my hands, I understood something. The truth had finally reached Olivia, but the worst pain was still ahead. Because seeing Daniel clearly was only the beginning. Now my daughter had to face every moment she had defended him, doubted herself, and condemned the people who had been trying to save her. And I had to stand beside her through that too. By the time I reached Carol's house, 3 cars were already in the driveway. Carol's minivan, Michael's sedan, Olivia's SUV. The 4th space, where Daniel might have parked on any ordinary Sunday dinner, was empty. I sat in my truck for a moment with Eleanor's envelope resting on the passenger seat. The porch light was on. Through the front window I could see shadows moving in the living room. People were talking inside, but from the driveway all I heard was the low hum of evening traffic and the faint rustle of dry leaves across the curb. My hands would not let go of the steering wheel. Not because I was afraid of Daniel now. I was afraid of what truth would do to Olivia once it stopped arriving in pieces and came all at once. Michael opened the front door before I knocked. He must have been watching for me. "Chris," he said quietly. I stepped inside. Carol's house felt different from the dinner a few nights before. The table was not set. No one was pretending food could save us. The lamps were low, and a half-full mug of tea sat untouched on the coffee table. Olivia was on the couch, Lily curled against her side. My daughter looked up when I entered, and the expression on her face was one I had not seen since she was a teenager waking from a nightmare. She was trying to be brave and failing. I wanted to cross the room. This time, I did. I sat beside her slowly enough to give her room to move away if she wanted. She did not move. Lily lifted her head. "Grandpa, is Mom in trouble?" The question was so simple, it broke the adults into silence. I looked at Olivia first. She nodded barely. I turned to Lily. "No, sweetheart, your mom is not in trouble. Some grown-up things are being sorted out, and we're all here to keep you both safe. Is Dad mad?" I looked at Olivia first. She nodded barely. I turned to Lily. "No, sweetheart, your mom is not in trouble. Some grown-up things are being sorted out, and we're all here to keep you both safe." "Is Dad mad?" Olivia's hand tightened around Lily's shoulder. I answered carefully. "Your father is upset, but you are safe here." Lily looked at me for a long moment, then leaned back against Olivia. Children know when adults are choosing words like stepping stones over deep water. Michael stood near the fireplace with a legal pad in his hand. Carol sat in the armchair, eyes red. My sister had believed Daniel was a good man too. That was another one of his thefts. He had stolen trust from rooms that had freely given it. Olivia pointed toward the coffee table. I brought what I found. There was a stack of papers, a laptop, and a small black notebook I recognized as Daniel's. Not the polished leather one he carried in public, but a cheap spiral notebook with bent corners. Michael had already placed several documents in clear sleeves. "He kept copies?" I asked. Michael nodded. "More than copies. Notes, drafts, debt records, search terms, contact names." Olivia spoke without looking at me. "He had a folder labeled Blake Transition." Carol made a small sound. I closed my eyes. Blake Transition. My wife dying had been a transition to him. My daughter's grief had been an opportunity. Our family home had been a target with an estimated value. Michael cleared his throat. "We need to go through this in order. Olivia, I know you've seen some of it already, but it matters that you understand the pattern." She nodded. Lily shifted. Carol stood. "Lily, honey, come help me make brownies." "I don't want brownies." Carol, God bless her, did not falter. "Then come. Tell me why my phone keeps making the letters so small. I need young eyes." Lily looked at Olivia. "It's okay," Olivia whispered. "I'm right here." When Lily followed Carol into the kitchen, Olivia folded both hands together in her lap. They were trembling. Michael began. First the debt. Daniel's private loan from a failed investment group. 3 maxed-out credit cards. A business line of credit personally guaranteed under terms Olivia had never seen. A settlement payment to a former business partner. The total was not ruinous for a corporation, perhaps, but for a household built on appearances and borrowed confidence, it was a cliff. Olivia stared at the numbers. He told me the investment did well. Michael pointed to one page. It did not. He told me the credit cards were for business travel. Some charges appear to be travel, Michael said. Some do not. She pressed her lips together. Next came the emails. The false account using Olivia's name. Messages drafted but not always sent. One to a loan consultant, one to a document preparer, one referencing expected liquidity after family property resolution. Olivia read that phrase aloud. Family property resolution. Her voice shook. I said softly, "The house." She nodded, but she did not look at me. Then came the notes. Michael opened Daniel's spiral notebook. The first pages were filled with numbers, property estimates, dates, names, mortgage balances, medical expense guesses, possible distribution timing. Then Michael turned to the page Olivia had already mentioned. E. Blake, primary obstacle before death. O. Emotionally dependent but resistant when father involved. CB must be isolated as controlling. Use memorial conflict if needed. Carol whispered, "Dear God." Olivia bent forward as if she might be sick. I felt something inside me go cold and still. Use memorial conflict if needed. That was not manipulation born in the heat of an argument. That was strategy. He had studied our grief and chosen where to press. Michael's voice was steady, but his jaw was tight. There are also notes matching the timeline Eleanor kept. He placed Eleanor's notebook beside Daniel's. 2 notebooks. 2 witnesses. One written by a dying woman trying to protect her child. One written by a man trying to profit from her death. Olivia looked from one to the other. My mother knew one written by a dying woman trying to protect her child. One written by a man trying to profit from her death. Olivia looked from one to the other. My mother knew, she whispered. Yes, I said. She really knew. I reached into my coat pocket and took out the envelope. Her eyes fixed on it immediately. Nobody spoke. Even the kitchen went quiet, as if Carol and Lily had sensed the room changing. I held it out. Olivia took it with both hands. For a moment, she only traced her name across the front. I'm scared, she said. I know. What if she says she's disappointed in me? She loved you, I said. Start there. Olivia let out a broken breath. Then she opened the envelope. The paper inside had been folded twice. Eleanor's handwriting was shakier than it had once been, but unmistakable. Olivia held it carefully, as if touching the letter too hard might hurt her mother. She began reading silently. I watched her face. At first confusion, then pain, then shock, then a grief so deep it seemed to pull all the color from her. Her hand covered her mouth. Tears fell onto the page. I looked away, giving her the only privacy possible in a room full of truth. But then she read one line aloud. My darling Olivia, if you are reading this, it means your father has been willing to be misunderstood longer than any man should have to be. My own tears came before I could stop them. Olivia kept reading, voice breaking. I know you may be angry with him. I know you may believe he kept things from you because he did not trust you. That is not true. He trusted your heart. I asked him to protect your future, because I was afraid your heart was being used against you." She stopped. Her shoulders shook. Michael looked down at his papers. Carol came to the doorway, one hand pressed to her chest. Olivia forced herself to continue. "Daniel is not the man he works so hard to appear to be. I have watched him make you question yourself. I have watched him turn concern into control. I have watched him look at our family home as if it were already his. I may be wrong about some details, but I am not wrong about the danger." The room seemed to disappear around us. There was only Eleanor's voice returning through ink. Olivia read the last part silently. Then she lowered the letter. Her face crumpled. "I didn't believe her," she whispered. I moved closer. "She didn't blame you. I defended him. I defended him to you, to her. While she was dying, I defended him." I took the letter gently from her shaking hand and placed it on the table. "Olivia, he deceived you. I called you cruel. You were hurt. I said Mom would be ashamed of you. That one struck both of us." I saw the memory hit her again, sharper now, because she knew what Eleanor had written. She turned toward me fully, and for the first time since all this began, she looked at me not as an enemy, not as a mystery, but as her father. "Dad," she said, "how did you stand it?" I could not answer right away, because the truth was, I had not stood it well. I had cried at kitchen tables. I had slept in Eleanor's chair. I had held Lily's purple hair tie like a prayer. I had doubted myself in the dark and begged my dead wife for strength. So I told her the only honest thing. "I stood it because your mother asked me to, and because you were worth it." Olivia broke then. Not quietly, not neatly. She collapsed against me with a sound I had not heard since she was a child. I wrapped my arms around her, and she held on as if she were afraid I might disappear. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry I held her tighter." "I know. I should have trusted you. You trusted the person you married. That is not a crime. But I hurt you." "Yes," I whispered. "You did." She cried harder. "I did not take the truth back. Healing cannot grow in soil where pain is denied." "But you came back," I said. "That matters too." Michael's phone buzzed. He stepped into the hallway to answer. When he returned, his face had changed. "That was Susan," he said. "The bank's fraud review is moving forward. And given the documents Olivia found, we have enough to file formally." Olivia lifted her head from my shoulder. "What happens to Daniel?" Michael's voice was calm. "That depends on the investigation. But tonight, you and Lily do not go home." Olivia looked toward the kitchen where Lily sat with Carol. "No," she said. "We don't." For the first time, she said it without asking permission. And in that small sentence, I heard the beginning of my daughter returning to herself. Olivia read her mother's letter 3 times that night. The first time she cried so hard, I do not think she absorbed the words. The second time, she stopped after nearly every sentence, as if each one forced her to revisit a memory she had misunderstood. The third time, she read it silently, while sitting alone at Carol's dining room table, with a cold cup of tea beside her and Eleanor's handwriting trembling in her hands. I stayed in the living room with Lily. My granddaughter had fallen asleep under one of Carol's quilts, her head on a throw pillow, one hand tucked beneath her cheek. Every so often she stirred and whispered something I could not make out. I sat nearby, watching her breathe, thinking about how close we had come to losing more than money. Daniel had not only wanted assets, he had wanted isolation. That was how people like him won. They did not simply take what belonged to you. They separated you from the people who would notice the theft. Around midnight, Carol came into the living room and sat beside me. "She's reading it again," she whispered. I nodded. Carol's eyes filled. "I owe you an apology, too." "No, you don't." "Yes, I do. I thought you were being stubborn. I thought grief had made you hard." "Grief did make me hard, but not wrong." I looked toward the dining room doorway. "No," I said quietly, "not wrong." Carol took my hand the way Eleanor used to when words were too small. "Eleanor would be proud of you." I closed my eyes. For months, I had survived on the hope that those words might be true. Hearing them out loud nearly broke me. A few minutes later, Olivia appeared in the doorway. She looked smaller somehow. Not physically, but in the way people look after they have carried shame too long and finally realize they can put it down, but do not yet know how. "Dad," she said. I stood. Carol rose too. "I'll check on Lily. She left us alone." Olivia held the letter against her chest. "I remember the pearl necklace," she said. I waited. "I thought you were punishing me. I thought you didn't trust me to take care of Mom's things." "I know. Mom wrote that Daniel had asked whether jewelry could be sold without probate if it was transferred before death." I had forgotten that specific line. Eleanor had remembered everything. Olivia's face twisted. "He told me medical bills were going to bury us. He said valuables just sitting in drawers didn't help anyone." I said, "That is why I said no." She nodded, tears rising again. "And the salon?" I drew a breath. "He wanted us to use the house as collateral." "He told me you didn't believe in me." "I did believe in you. I know that now." The words were simple, but they moved through me like sunlight entering a room boarded up for winter. She walked to the couch and sat down. I sat beside her. Not across from her this time. Beside her. She unfolded the letter again, though I think she knew parts of it by heart already. "Mom wrote that you would probably lose me for a while," Olivia whispered. She wrote, "Your father will pretend silence does not hurt him, but it will. Please remember one day that his quiet was not absence, it was restraint." I looked away. Olivia touched my arm. "Did you ever hate me?" The question stunned me. "Hate you for what I said, for choosing him, for keeping Lily from you." I turned back to her. "No." "How?" "Because you're my daughter. That can't be the whole answer. It is the beginning of it." She lowered her eyes. I reached for the words carefully. "Olivia, I was hurt. Deeply. There were days I did not know what to do with the pain, but hate never came. Fear came. Grief came. Anger came sometimes, but not hate." She cried silently. "I hated you," she whispered. I absorbed it. She needed to say it. "I don't mean forever," she said quickly. "I mean, there were moments I looked at you and thought you were ruining everything. I thought you were cold. I thought you wanted control more than you wanted me happy. I know. And you still protected me." "Yes." Why I looked at Lily asleep across the room, then back at my daughter. "When you were born, your mother and I made promises you never heard. Not in a church, not in front of people. Quiet promises. The kind parents make at 3 a.m. when a baby won't sleep. I promised I would stand between you and whatever I could, even if you didn't understand the shape of the danger." Her face crumpled. I'm 42 years old, and still my child. She leaned into me then, not collapsing like before, but resting. That was different. Collapse is desperation. Rest is trust, beginning again. For a while, we sat without speaking. Then she said, I need to tell you something. All right. I think Daniel has been making me feel stupid for years. There it was, the deeper wound, not the forged signature, not the debt, not the trust, the slow erosion of her own belief in herself. I nodded. I saw some of that. Why didn't I? Because you were inside it. She closed her eyes. He would correct me in front of people, but gently. He would say, I got dates wrong, or numbers wrong, or that I was too tired to remember conversations. If I pushed back, he'd act wounded. Then I'd apologize. My hands curled, but I kept my voice steady. He trained you to doubt yourself. She nodded. Mom wrote that too. She wrote, he is not only reaching for money, he is reaching for her confidence. Guard that most of all. Eleanor. Even dying, she had known what mattered most. Olivia looked at me. How do I get it back? You start by believing what you saw. She breathed in shakily. The papers. Yes. The email. Yes. The way he grabbed my arm. I felt my body go still. She looked down. He didn't hurt me. That does not mean it was nothing. I know. That was another beginning. She was no longer defending the hand that stopped her. She was naming it. The next morning, Michael returned to Carol's with a plan. Olivia would stay there with Lily for several days. Michael would help her contact a family law attorney. Susan would continue cooperating with the bank's fraud review. Daniel's access to certain accounts would be frozen or monitored where legally possible. Olivia would document everything she had found without contacting him directly. Daniel sent messages all morning. At first, soft ones. Liv, please come home. We need to talk like husband and wife. I know your father is scaring you. I love you. Don't let them do this to us. Then sharper ones. You are making a mistake. Taking Lily from me will look bad. Christopher cannot protect you from reality. Olivia read them with trembling hands but did not respond. At noon, she blocked him temporarily on Carol's advice and Michael's recommendation, then gave screenshots to her attorney. That simple act drained her. She sat at the kitchen table afterward staring at her phone as if it had become a weapon. I feel guilty, she admitted. Carol placed a sandwich in front of her. That doesn't mean you did wrong. Olivia looked at me. I said, guilt often follows old training. She nodded slowly. Later that afternoon, she asked to go back to Maple Ridge Lane. Not to stay, she said quickly. I just need to see it. So I drove her. Lily stayed with Carol. The ride was quiet. Olivia held Eleanor's letter in her lap the whole way. When we pulled up to the house, the realtor's sign was still in the yard, though by then it felt more like a decoy than a wound. Olivia stared at it. I hated that sign, she said. I did too. She looked at me. You did. Every day. We walked inside together. The house was half-packed, but still ours in the ways that mattered. The sunlight still crossed the foyer the same way. The old clock still ticked. The kitchen still held the faint scent of cinnamon in the wood. Or maybe I only imagined it because Eleanor had lived there so fully. Olivia walked room to room. In the kitchen, she touched the counter. I told Lily you sold Grandma's kitchen. I said nothing. She turned around, tears in her eyes. I made you the villain in her memories too. Memories can be repaired, can they? Not by pretending. But yes. She wiped her cheek. Then she asked, Can I see the basement? I nodded. We walked to the basement door. For months, that door had symbolized everything she hated about me. Secrets, control, refusal. Now I handed her the key. Her hand trembled as she took it. She unlocked the door herself. We went down together. The safe waited in the corner. I opened it and showed her everything. Eleanor's notebook, the red folder, the trust papers, the copies, the timeline, the evidence. Olivia knelt in front of it, crying quietly. All this time, she whispered Mom was still protecting me from here. I knelt beside her. No, I said gently. Your mother started it, but you are protecting yourself now. She looked at me then. Something changed in her face. Not healed, not whole, but awake. And for the first time, she did not look like Daniel's wife, trying to understand her father. She looked like Eleanor's daughter, remembering who she had been before fear taught her to shrink. The legal consequences for Daniel did not arrive like thunder. They arrived like winter, slow, relentless, quiet at first, then impossible to ignore. The bank fraud review became formal within a week. Susan gave statements through proper channels. Michael provided copies of the suspicious documents Olivia had found, along with Eleanor's notes and my own timeline. Olivia confirmed she had not created the false email account, had not authorized the credit inquiry, and had never seen the marital asset management draft. Daniel denied everything. Of course he did. He said Olivia was confused. He said I had manipulated her while she was emotionally fragile. He said Michael had always disliked him. He said the documents were drafts, misunderstandings, financial planning tools taken out of context. But the problem with lies is that they need room to breathe. Paper does not give them much. Dates lined up. Emails connected. Signatures did not match. Debt records explained motive. Eleanor's notes showed pattern. Daniel's own notebook turned his charm into strategy written in his own hand. For the first time since I had known him, Daniel Carter could not talk his way out of a room. Olivia filed for separation before Thanksgiving. That was the first time she said it clearly. I'm leaving him. Not I need space. Not I need to think. Not maybe there's an explanation. I'm leaving him. She said it in my kitchen, sitting at the same table where she had once asked me to fund her salon, where Eleanor had poured tea, where Daniel had smiled over numbers he hoped would one day belong to him. Lily sat in the living room watching a Christmas movie too early in the season. Carol was with her pretending not to listen while absolutely listening. Olivia wrapped both hands around a mug of coffee and stared into it. I thought saying it would make me feel free, she said. But mostly I feel stupid. You are not stupid. I know you have to say that. No, I said. I have to tell you the truth. And the truth is, intelligent people can be manipulated. Loving people can be deceived. Loyal people can be used by someone who studies their loyalty. She looked at me. I keep replaying everything. I know. Every time he corrected me. Every time he said you were trying to control me. Every time I apologized for asking a question. She swallowed hard. I don't know how to forgive myself. I sat across from her. Maybe don't start with forgiveness. She frowned. Then what? Start with honesty. Then safety. Then healing. Forgiveness can come later if it comes. She looked down at her coffee. Did you forgive me? The question hung between us. A younger father might have rushed to say yes, wanting to erase her pain. But I had learned that love does not always heal by moving quickly. Sometimes love honors the wound by not pretending it vanished. I am forgiving you, I said. Her eyes lifted. Still? Yes. She nodded slowly. That's fair. It doesn't mean I love you less. I know. Her voice cracked. I think I finally know that. The house on Maple Ridge Lane never left the family. That was the part Olivia struggled to understand at first. The sign came down quietly one gray morning, removed by a realtor who knew only what paperwork told him. Neighbors speculated, as neighbors do. Mrs. Holloway crossed the street with banana bread and eyes full of questions. I thanked her for the bread and gave her no answers. The trust held. Michael had built it well, just as Eleanor had insisted. The property could not be pressured through Olivia. Daniel could not touch it. Creditors connected to him could not reach through her grief and grab what her mother had meant as shelter. Olivia and Lily moved into the house temporarily after Christmas. I moved into the smaller bedroom downstairs, the one we had once used as Eleanor's sewing room. Olivia protested at first. "Dad, this is your house." "No," I told her. "This is our family's shelter. Right now, you and Lily need it most." She looked around the hallway at the marks on the wall, where old photos had been rehung at the kitchen Eleanor loved at the staircase Lily had once slid down, despite being told not to. "I thought you sold my childhood," she whispered. "I know. You saved it." I shook my head. "Your mother saved the meaning of it. I only followed instructions." That made her smile through tears. Slowly, life returned in small, ordinary pieces. Not all at once. Healing never comes like a parade. It comes like one light turning on in a dark house. Lily started baking cinnamon rolls with me again on Saturday mornings. The first time she tied Eleanor's old apron around her waist, Olivia stood in the doorway and cried silently. Lily saw her and said, "Mom, Grandma would want extra icing, right?" Olivia laughed and cried harder. "Yes," she said, "she absolutely would." Carol came over every Sunday after church, whether invited or not. She brought casseroles, gossip, and an aggressive commitment to making everyone eat. Michael stopped by once with papers and left with 3 containers of soup because Carol refused to let any lawyer escape unfed. Susan sent a card around New Year's. "Eleanor would be proud of all of you." I kept that card tucked inside the red folder, not as evidence, but as mercy. Daniel's case took time. There were interviews, legal filings, financial reviews, family law hearings, temporary custody arrangements, asset freezes, arguments through attorneys. Olivia had good days and terrible days. Some mornings, she came downstairs with purpose in her face. Other mornings, she sat at the table staring at nothing until Lily left for school, then broke down as soon as the door closed. I learned not to rush her. She was grieving a marriage, yes, but she was also grieving the woman she had been inside it. That kind of grief is complicated. You miss someone and resent him. You blame him and blame yourself. You fear him and remember loving him. You feel relief, then guilt for feeling relief. One evening in February, Olivia found me in the living room, sorting through old photographs. She sat beside me and picked up a picture of Eleanor holding her as a newborn. "Do you think Mom was angry at me?" she asked. "No, you sound sure." "I am sure. How I looked at the photo? Because your mother understood love too well to mistake blindness for betrayal." Olivia leaned her head against my shoulder. I wish I could talk to her. "Me too. She would know what to say." I smiled faintly. "She would tell you to eat something first. Then she would say what needed saying." Olivia laughed softly. For a moment, the room felt almost whole. By spring, Lily had started calling Maple Ridge Lane home again. That was when I knew the house had survived. Not because the trust protected the deed, because a child felt safe enough to name it. One Saturday, Olivia and I planted new flowers in Eleanor's garden. The old roses had grown wild during the months of conflict, their branches tangled and thorny. Olivia knelt in the soil, wearing Eleanor's gardening gloves and trimmed carefully while I dug around the roots. "I keep thinking about the title of this whole mess," she said. "What title?" She looked at me with a sad smile. "My daughter misjudged my decisions." I chuckled softly. "That sounds dramatic." It was dramatic. Yes, I admitted. It was. "She sit down the clippers. I did misjudge you." She looked at me with a sad smile. "My daughter misjudged my decisions?" I chuckled softly. "That sounds dramatic." It was dramatic. Yes, I admitted. It was. She set down the clippers. "I did misjudge you." I looked at her. "I judged every decision by how it made me feel," she said. "Not by what it might have cost you to make it." I leaned on the shovel. "That's human. It was unfair." "Yes." She nodded, accepting both grace and truth at once. "I'm sorry, Dad. I know. I don't want you to keep paying for my mistake forever." "I won't." That surprised her. I chose my words carefully. Forgiveness does not mean we pretend nothing happened. It means we decide pain will not be the only thing left between us. But trust has to grow again. We both have to tend it. She looked down at the soil. "Like Mom's roses, exactly like your mother's roses." She smiled, then a real smile. Small, tired, but real. We worked until the sun began to lower behind the maple tree. Lily came outside with lemonade and announced that Carol said we were all invited for dinner, which of course meant Carol had already cooked too much food and was demanding an audience. Olivia stood and brushed dirt from her jeans. Lily ran ahead toward the porch, then stopped and turned back. "Grandpa Chris, are we keeping this house forever?" Olivia looked at me. I looked at the maple tree, the porch, the windows glowing with evening light, the garden where Eleanor's roses were beginning again. "Forever is a long time," I said. "But as long as this house is needed to protect love, it stays with us." Lily seemed satisfied with that and ran inside. Olivia took my hand. Not like a child, like a daughter who had found her way back through fire. "I love you, Dad," she said. I squeezed her hand. "I love you too." And in that moment, I finally understood what Eleanor had meant when she told me to save what the house meant, not just the walls. The walls had held our pain, but they also held our return. Daniel had tried to turn inheritance into control grief, into opportunity, and love into leverage. He failed. Because my wife saw him. Because I kept my promise. Because my daughter, once she learned the full story, found the courage to choose truth over comfort. And because sometimes the decisions that look cold from the outside are the very ones made by a heart burning quietly with love.